Longevity, understanding, and integrity. We on the road, graduate, self-discovery. Got a lot to learn in this life, and I'm excited. Gonna do it with my people like mine. What you gonna reboot when you need reboot? What you gonna reboot? A reboot. Well, good afternoon. Let me get my co-host in here, and here we go. Good afternoon, Phoenix Leor, otherwise known as Lena.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing fine. I hope everybody else out there is doing fine. So good to be back this afternoon.
Yes, it's a wonderful Friday. I'm in a good mood. I'm excited to have some good conversation today.
Come on. Now, you all might notice that Shelly Welly is not here today. She was actually from the beginning of this podcast coming on the air. She's been away from home and away from her resources. And so she did a great job juggling the babies and taking care and coming on the podcast, but she's traveling shoes, y'all. She got on her traveling shoes, so she's headed home today traveling. And so it's gonna be Lena and I, Phoenix Leor. We're gonna have a great time. I want to say good afternoon, Nancy Jackson. We're so glad you're in the room. Truck driver, yes, that's my Mufasa. Truck driver 57, come on in the room. So good to see you. And to everybody else that's out there that may not be in my chat, of course, I always get up for the Rebel Inc., who makes sure that we are well taken care of on the backside to keep the stream right. We got to keep the stream right. So we appreciate you as well, Rebel, and I appreciate you. And I want to say good afternoon, Lena. Tell me what's going on in your world, sis.
Good afternoon. Life is good. I've just been taking it day by day. And that's about it for me. I've just been enjoying the time and trying to do some reboots throughout the week and come to this and be able to have some good conversation. How was your week looking like?
Listen, I got a little something, some kind of bug or something got a hold of me earlier in the week, Monday, when I came out of Sunday, had a great day. And so, but otherwise, got up and did the podcast. The streams were on fire all week long. The streams were on fire.
Oh, it's always good too.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it was good. And so I don't have any complaints, just really kind of taking it slow and taking it easy as much as I can. I'm so blessed by everybody. I mean, we got some of the best people out there, and the viewers, they keep me motivated, they keep me encouraged, and they let me know I'm well loved, and that it's all good. Tall pumps in the room. Come on. You the K best. Come on, good to see you. Thank you for coming in today. We appreciate you. Tall Pumps, I see you lurking and working. I appreciate you just know that you're here and coming in to hear this chat from the Millennials. Talk to me, Lena. Talk to me.
Well, am I a millennial? Are you sure about that?
I don't know. You're young to me. So are you a millennial?
I am a millennial, Jesus. But I'm some type of hybrid because I feel like what's the generation before millennials?
XYZ. And didn't we do all of them first and then went on to the millennials?
Yes, I believe so. No, because the generation after us is Generation X, I think.
Oh, girl, I don't know. Don't give me. I'm old. That's all I know. I just keep up with mine. Mine is old. My status right now is old. Tall pumps for Gen X. Gen X. Thank you. Thank you,
I'm
Tall Pumps. She
I'm
had to
half
come in and get
millennial,
us
half
straight.
old. Right, Tall Pump's got us right. She got us right
She
together.
got us together. She got us together. That's why I love the viewers. They come in and give it. And before that, with the baby boomers, come on,
I
Tall Pump.
remember the baby boomers. Y'all wasn't playing no games, was y'all?
Listen,
Y'all was
listen.
like 6 billion people on Earth. Let's make 7 billion real quick in one generation. We're gonna add a billion folks. Y'all wasn't playing.
Listen, somebody said get busy. We heard the Bible when it said be fruitful and
Be
multiply.
fruitful and multiply, honey. Y'all was multiplying big numbers,
Like
not one
rabbit,
times nothing.
baby, like
7 times,
rabbit.
8 times, like rabbits, exactly. Well, I want to do something a little different. I would like to chat. That's what I call our viewers. Chat. I want y'all to come on in here and do a little game with us. What I want to do is I'm going to read y'all a definition. When I read the definition, I want y'all to listen to the definition and tell me what do you think our topic is. Okay, so I'm going to read the definition of our topic today, and I want you guys to comment and say what you think our topic is about today. Okay, y'all ready?
We're ready.
Okay, this is the definition of our topic: the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. So I'm going to read that again. The definition of our topic today is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. I'm going to give y'all another one. Capable of being physically or emotionally wounded, the possibility of being physically or emotionally wounded. So what do you guys think? What do you think our topic is today? I'm curious to see what people will think.
Real Link said abuse.
Oh Lord, not abuse.
Oh, you the K best.
Abuse.
That's
Okay.
8843.
Okay.
Mel said, what is racist?
What is a racist? Oh, exactly. No, I'm just playing. Okay. We got abuse. We got vulnerability. We got vulnerable. We got what is a racist? We got abuse again.
Uh-huh.
Tall Pumps is vulnerability. This is so interesting
Yeah.
because and when I first looked the definition of this topic, I was a little taken back also because I didn't think that would be the definition of it.
Uh-huh.
But I'm gonna say our topic today is vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Come on. Hold on. Let me since they got it right, let me give them a little something. We're gonna give them some applause.
Give them a little
Give them a
applause,
little applause. Yeah.
I think it's
Y'all did it.
good job, good job.
Good job. Crazy Berrytown is in the room. Now, Crazy Berrytown, thank you for being here. And this stream is rated R. So my millennials use language over here. So you can make yourself right at home.
I mean, it's Friday. You're supposed to, if any day to use language on, it's Friday.
Let's take a bow. She took a bow. Come on, you the K best. Come on. Yeah, take a bow. I'm not mad at you. They got it.
So they got it. That's the definition of vulnerability. Now, yes. I think it's interesting that we got some different answers. Somebody said abuse. Some people said a racist. What else did our viewers say? I couldn't.
It was abuse and racist were the other two. Yeah.
That's so interesting that is what they got from that definition. But I also, when I looked up the definition of vulnerability, I was confused about I'm not confused, but I was taken aback by the definition. So my question to you is, when you first hear the word vulnerability, what do you think of?
When I think of vulnerability, my mind, for me, this is a spiritual thought leader, my mind immediately goes to a closeness, because I'm only going to be vulnerable with people that I'm really close to. That's just me. So, I'm not trying to do textbook definition. Y'all got that, hit the nail on the head, killed it. But when I hear vulnerability, I see Shelly Thunder. Shelly Thunder is in the room. Come on here. Not Shelly Welly. This is one of our
Not Shirley
listeners. Her
Willis.
name is actually Shelly Thunder. But when I hear vulnerability, for me, it resonates that if I'm going to be vulnerable, typically it's with somebody that I feel close to, somebody that I have a strong connection with. Because I don't just go out there and expose myself with, even as you said in the definition, I'm just not that one that's going to um, just make myself vulnerable with everybody to the fullest extent. Now, there are different, for me, varying levels of vulnerability, but when you just get to the heart of being vulnerable, that to me starts going right on into the heart and folks that are close to me.
What does it look like to be to the heart vulnerable? What does that look like in general context?
Uh, to me, I'm gonna say transparent,
Hmm.
when you're not trying to put on any kind of airs and there's nothing hidden and it's just all out there. That to me is vulnerability.
Mm, okay.
And you guys, please jump in the chat, give us your definitions or your ideas of what you, when you hear vulnerability, what does that mean to you, because you may have a different vantage point than mine. And I will say this, we're going to miss Shelly Welly's presence on today because of that millennial perspective. I got an old gray head woman's perspective here. So Debrat, hello, Deborah Hyatt, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I said Debrat. Deborah Hyatt, welcome to the
Hey now.
room. We're so glad that you're here on reBOOT. We're ready to reboot. So I'd love for people to say, oh, thank you. You followed from DJ Onyx. Thank you so much for coming in,
Okay.
Deborah. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. And you are
Welcome.
welcome here. You are, and this is hopefully, I want everybody to understand, a safe place where you can really say what's on your mind and what you want to talk about openly and freely without judgment. So
Yes.
for me, Alina, you're talking about some levels of transparency, because I feel like a lot of times people, they put on a mask, they'll put on airs, they'll cover up, or and I don't necessarily mean for the purpose of deception, but just not feeling comfortable to reveal who they are to others yet. And so to me, there's a masking. All of that speaks to a masking. And somehow to me, it's like when you become vulnerable, that openness and that transparency is at a different level. That's my okay. Here we go. Go ahead and read what you getting stuff in there. Let's go. I'm gonna let you go for it.
Okay. Is that are you the best? Are you the K best? Did I say that right?
Help us with the pronunciation of your name. I said you the K best is what I said, but I don't know if she can give us the yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said to me, vulnerability means being open, which does mean you can be hurt. But in my opinion, it is also the only true space of freedom and power.
Come on here. Come
You
on.
better speak now.
Listen.
Yes.
That hey, wait a minute, wrong one, honey. That was like I need to
Okay.
applause that. I need to applaud that. We might.
You the best said that. That definitely needed an applause. Yes, that's pretty good. I think that there are two sides, like the definition only kind of hit on one side of vulnerability. So
Mhm.
you might be open to hurt. But the other side is that, you can also really experience some really great, what you say, freedom and
Freedom and
power.
power. I love
Mhm.
that. The
I love that
true
too.
space, the true space of freedom. I love that. I love that.
SK8843 said, oh, wait. Oh man, I just missed it. Hold on, let me pull it up on here. Do you see it, Angie?
Yes, I can go. I messed around, hit the wrong thing. Child, we both hunting for it. Not here it
Ah,
is.
okay, I got it. I got it.
I got it too. Go ahead.
Vol- okay, voluntary vulnerability is intimacy in my mind. Unwanted vulnerability is frightening.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm.
Okay, so that's a different aspect of it because is there a time and place to be vulnerable, or is it just like a lifestyle to live a vulnerable state to where there are no masks, there are no walls, or should you just be vulnerable in different spaces of your life? Like you were saying, you're only to the heart vulnerable with your most closest friends, but
Mhm.
with just general people, there are some. protection layers, I should say.
I'm going to say for me, and I have to keep referring back to me. I'm sorry, Lena, and I'm gonna also put in
That's
there with
what we want.
because I think you the best. I think you the best is. I mean, she's just slamming in her concept, and I think you younger folks tend to be and have been raised in an era and an environment of putting yourself out there like that. I came from a different day and time. I see Shelly hit some things on trust issues. I come with some trust issues. I'm gonna say before Oprah, wasn't nobody being vulnerable.
Ah, no, everybody was like, you
Before
know what?
Oprah, nobody was being vulnerable. So
Uh-huh.
for me, vulnerability is a very sensitive topic for me because my personality, from my place of baggage, has dealt with what I call being a chameleon. And that whole
Mm,
idea of it, wherever I am, I take on whatever that environment is so I can fit in. I fit in to get in, even though none of the above is me. So none of that's my true
mm,
color. Now,
mhm,
that's my healing place though. That is my healing place. Vulnerability on the other side is a part of my healing to be vulnerable.
mhm.
Otherwise, my trust issues will push me into that space of being a chameleon. And it is bondage, to go back to the definition that you the best put out there. It is bondage. You lose your freedom when you're always the chameleon, in my opinion, from my own personal experience. And it's just not healthy.
Shelley Thunder said being vulnerable is not an option for me because I have trust issues. Trust is monumental in every being able to consider being vulnerable, even and especially with the ones you are closest with. Some will take your vulnerability and use it against you. Is
Mhm.
that the fear? Is that the reason why people have such an issue with being vulnerable? Is because you're ultimately afraid of being hurt, or
I,
that
I
somebody would take advantage of you being vulnerable?
I would have to say for me, yes. I mean, it's
Mhm,
all kinds of yes for me because I'm like, hey, 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 hold up, hold up, hold up.
mhm,
I'm already hurting, and you're not gonna come in my space of vulnerability and hurt me some more. But I think at the
mhm,
point that you have to look at who's coming in your space and who you're allowing in your space, if you trust them, you got to be vulnerable. And I would say when I talk about my place of healing, that to me, as I look back and review my place of healing from counseling, is like I really did the people that were in relationship with me a disservice because they never got the real me. They got a version
mhm,
of me, but it wasn't the real me.
mhm, mhm. I think that's the issue with trying to, it's a delicate balance, right? Because you have to protect yourself and you have to be in a place where, if something did go wrong, you're able to combat that. But also, like you said, if you're not being your true self, if you're not saying exactly what you want to say or what you actually feel, if you're not able to express that, then, you might as well go ahead and apply for some acting jobs because that's basically what you're doing.
Mhm.
And so, my question is, what do you guys think, to our viewers and to you, Angie? What do you guys think are some ways to, you know grow the idea of being vulnerable in more states, but also not letting yourself be hurt? Like, even if something did go wrong, how can you not hold on to the hurt of something, but only hold on to the vulnerability of it?
I'm gonna go someplace here, and y'all please answer in the chat so we can read your spaces. You the best. You got an excellent answer down in there from the previous, and Lena may get back to that. But to answer your question, um, I feel that um it, I'm gonna come to a spiritual thought leader answer with that question. I'm gonna have you ask it one more time and rephrase it one more time so people know, because I know I said a whole bunch of stuff. Somebody's like, I forgot the question. One more time. What? And I know what the question is, but ask it one more time.
Okay, so what are some ways for us as a people to be able to grow, to be able to reboot to a place where we're able to be vulnerable in more states, and how to let go of what we consider to be the hurt of it and only just hold on to, what can become of it, the good that comes from it.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a spiritual thought leader answer to that question.
Mhm.
I feel like our inner self really picks up whether people are healthy or unhealthy. I feel like we have a spiritual radar that if we pay attention to that radar will be like beep, 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 if it's somebody that I can be vulnerable with, and it'll be like nah, if it's somebody that we shouldn't be vulnerable with. And I think a lot of times we do not pay attention to that. I think little kids have that. I think little kids, if you've ever seen and somebody that just ain't right, and they walk up to the baby and want to take the baby, and the baby starts pulling away like and we'd be like, oh, go to Uncle Jim, oh, go to Billy Bob, and that baby is just screaming and hollering and crying. I think that is the essence of what I'm saying. I think we have that radar internally, but more times than not, we're taught to turn that radar off, and then we become vulnerable with the wrong folks, or people that we really could be vulnerable with. Our radar gets twisted. I think if we go back to our true selves, I think our true selves really has the discernment to pick up who to be vulnerable with, who not to be vulnerable with. And I really believe that. Now, I might be wrong, but that's what I believe. I believe even as I look back on my experiences that made me not trust people, and even I'm talking about from a little child. My little child knew that person wasn't right. I ain't lying. My little child knew that person, there was something in me that when I was in that person's space before they ever did, said, or acted anything, something down in my shondo was like, back. But because my environment that I'm raised in is always pushing you into, I'm like, no, man, I feel like if I had been allowed, even as a little child, to be sensitive to my radar that was going crazy, like, warning, Will Robinson, warning. Did you watch Lost in Space?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay.
Oh, wait. No, I did. It's on Netflix. Right. Will Robinson, right, with the robot.
Yeah, the robot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That robot knew every time. He
yeah,
knew every time.
that robot knew every time. It'd be like, warning, Will Robinson. And I think the robot really identifies that part in us, the spiritual part in us that picks this mess up. But we are not trained on how to go cultivate that and how to pay attention to it. That's my opinion. I'm gonna let you pick up some of these other answers.
I want to go back to I want to keep hold to that, but I want to read some of these answers because we got some good ones.
Come on.
So Shelly Thunder said, for me it's not fear, it's what I've experienced, so it has caused me to be closed off and distant. Those that make it past the walls took the time to actually hold on one second. Y'all coming in. We appreciate these comments. I lost it. Hold on one second. Okay. Those that make it past the walls took the time to actually learn who I am and what my beliefs are, etc. But I still tend to keep people at a distance if my spirit or discernment is flagged.
Okay.
So that's kind of what you were saying, EG.
Yeah.
So you the best said crying. Okay, so this is her response to how do you let go of the hurt and keep a hold to the power of the vulnerability. So she said, let me see. She said crying, yoga, breath work, journaling, singing, dancing, creative expression is how she releases hurt instead of holding on to it.
Awesome.
So I think that's beautiful ways of kind of letting go of some of the stuff. And that breath work, I've just been recently kind of getting into that, but I think that stuff is mind blowing.
Share a little bit more about breath work, if you would.
Well, breath work, and I have a very uninformed, definition for it, but basically it's when you're working on and paying more attention to your breath. And so when you're in stressful situations, you focus on your breath and it helps ground. Well, for me, it helps ground me, it helps me come back to this moment. Because sometimes if you have dealt with abuse or any type of trauma in the past, you can kind of get spacey or kind of get stuck back in those situations that you were in. So then breath work kind of helps you bring yourself back to this moment right here where you're not, in any trouble, any danger or nothing. So I think it's amazing.
That's great.
It was a few more, but they're leaving. I'm passing them up. Okay, you got some.
8843 said, I learned after my worst experience
Mm.
of disloyalty that I will survive. I don't want to be hurt, but I'm not afraid anymore. Awesome. That's awesome.
Yes, I
Awesome.
will survive.
Yes.
I I don't want to forget about what you said, but I think that that is the most empowering lesson you can learn from anything you've been through in the past.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still here, you've made it through it. It can't hurt you. Like
Yes.
anything, all the things you've been through, and you're here, all the things you're going to face, you are strong enough to make it through it, and you will be okay. And
Yes.
that, for some reason, that gives me the power sometimes to, say that I'm not afraid of future situations because I already know. I listen. I've been through some things,
Mm-hmm.
and if I made it through that, this
Yes.
being, this soul, this person right here can make it through some more stuff. So I
Come on.
love that.
Come
I
on.
love that. Did
Come
we
on.
miss any? Did we have any other ones,
Pumps
18?
is addressing the discernment that Shelly Thunder talked about, and so that
Mm-hmm.
discernment thing keeps popping up, and I think that's a spiritual element that sometimes we have lost or desensitized to the discernment. Discernment and maturity lets you move and choose what human we allow in our space physically and mentally. And then Deborah Hyatt shared that she's vulnerable around people, and I trust and dealing with abuse for 2 years makes it hard to. Come on, that's
Mm-hmm.
thank you for sharing that. Thank you for trusting us in this space with that information.
Yes, yes.
You the best. I agree. If we learn to honor intuition over intellect, we will know when people, places, and things are dangerous. And sometimes people are really showing us who they are. We choose not to believe them.
Mm-hmm.
But as Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. That part of the intuition. Even as I was talking to somebody the other day, use all your five senses. The church teaches you don't use your senses. Don't look to you, baby. God gave you those senses for a reason. Use all of them because all of those help you with your intuition and your intellect. So go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
I just said let's kind of dive into that discernment um, piece for a minute because I think a
Yes.
lot of people have this, or people might call it discernment, they might call it intuition, they
Mm-hmm.
might call it an inkling, a
Mm-hmm.
feeling,
Mm-hmm.
or I just had a twinge, something told me
Right.
that that wasn't right. So I'd like to know because this is something that I struggle with myself also. I feel like I do have discernment. I feel like I do have intuition, but I do also understand that I deal with depression and I deal with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes my mind always goes to in every situation, it always goes to the negative and the most worst the worst outcome that it could possibly be.
Yes.
So, I have to kind of check myself sometimes because I have to realize, I have to actually stop and say, Marlena, is that discernment or is that your anxiety? Is that the past
Mm-hmm.
abuse speaking or is that your actual discernment or your actual intuition? So sometimes I have an issue with knowing which is which. So I would love for you to give your opinion on that and if our viewers have any like tips or ideas on how to kind of discern between which one is real and which one is not.
I think what you addressed, even with the breathing technique that you the best talked about, I see tall pumps, so we're kind of on the same. Uh, uh, Grounding yourself to the present because I think, and I have no problem sharing that I am a victor, not a victim. I'm a tor, not a Tim. I am a victor of sexual abuse. And so with that, at early ages, there is that element of really, I did what I call, and as we talked about so much in my therapy, splitting. I can split. I can be someplace else out of body experience and just let myself just totally separate from what's going on. But I think that when we start talking about my ability to discern, I have to reconnect. I can't do that disconnected. You understand what I'm saying? I can't. There is that grounding. So when you talk about breath work, that lets you come back to this moment where I'm not coming from the place of fear of the past. I'm not having anxiety about what might be in the future. I'm just in this moment right here. I feel that when we are in the present, and the present is a gift, when I am in the present and I connect to the present and allow myself to feel, hear, and sense everything that's going on in my present, it will let me know danger, Will Robinson, or everything is copacetic. I think. There
Mhm.
is that ability, and that's what I rely on now. And it has eradicated almost all of my anxiety and all of my stress and worry and anxiousness and or distrust was huge for me. But at this point it's like, listen, that thing is on fleek so much so that I'm like, you can try it if you want to, but the Holy Ghost will reveal it. I ain't even gonna look for it. The Holy you understand the word? Listen, that intuition, that spirit that let me come in this space and let me be grounded to right here. Let me read right here. Let me understand what's going on right here. Let me sense what kind of attitude you're of right here. Because listen, that same person can come with the good spirit one day and come with the bad spirit the next. Let me deal with what's being presented to me right here, and then let me work from right here. And it almost never fails. I promise you, it almost never fails. I promise you, it works every time.
Do you think that if you're around somebody who you have a bad feeling about, do you think you should give those persons a chance to, um, like a chance to be that? I'm trying to think how to word this. So if you're around somebody with bad energy or bad juju, or you feel like something's not right, do you give that person an opportunity to make good, or do you just, you're not even gonna get into it?
Now, I am bad juju, good juju. So listen, if I pick up something on my radar, I become watchful.
Hmm.
When I pick up something on my radar, I become watchful. Watchful is not just with my eyes, but even when my shando, that y'all hear me talk about my shando. When my shando is not feeling, or intuition, or wherever y'all want to go with that. When my shando, something in it is unsettled, I pay attention to my shando. I really do. I pay attention to my shando. If my shando puts me in a space with somebody, and listen, I can be in a space and somebody can be trying to convince me of something and trying to present to me how they want me to perceive them. And my shando says lie. That's a lie. Don't believe it. I may not show any inkling. I may not show any change. Now, back in the day, I'd have been like, "Oh, child, you lying," and I don't do that, because at the end of the day, it's not productive. So I'm like, I know what I know, and my spirit knows that you're lying. And down in your shondo, you know that you lying too. I'm just not buying what you're selling. So I'm
Hmm.
not gonna get worked up. I'm not gonna get whatever, or whatever the case may be. I use that as an example, but if my shondo is not comfortable, I pay attention. I pay attention. I pay attention.
Pay
That's what we say.
attention
I
to
pay attention. Now, at the
it.
same time, if I don't pick anything up, I'm going to give you, unless you show me something otherwise, I'm going to come into the experience feeling like there's no reason for me to be guarded with you until you show me otherwise.
Hmm.
And that's how I've started building my relationships and my experiences. And it's totally different than 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Hmm. Tom Pump said, "Say that, spiritual thought leader. I know what I know, what I know.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Yes. Yes.
Period."
And we have that. I feel like we all have that in us, but either some way we've deactivated it, it's gotten confused, bogged down. But I feel like we all have that. And I feel like even with our children, we really need to teach our children from as early as possible how to pay attention to their shondo.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, and I want to know I want also our viewers to answer this.
Yes.
When did you? What's the moment or time in your life that you felt most vulnerable?
Uh, I felt most vulnerable when I talked to my mother about my abuse in a given situation. And it just wasn't the kind of conversation that, now I knew that my mother loved me, no doubt about it. She loved all her children. But our church experience didn't give us the healthiest way of how to deal relationally in vulnerability. And so I think that was probably the one time I felt the most anxious, was really and the most vulnerable. But I felt like it was a place that I needed to go if I wanted to have a shift in my mother-daughter relationship.
Hmm.
And it was very
Wow.
frightening, but
Hmm.
it was very productive.
Hmm. How did you? So okay, that's when you felt most vulnerable. How did you feel coming up to that moment, coming up to talking with her about the abuse? And then tell me afterwards, were your feelings like, um, did you feel the same way? Or did you feel, um, after you talked about it, did you feel like some type of relief or like, man, I should have done that in the first place? Or was it still the same feelings as before?
After I talked to her, I felt like that was the first time we had ever been really connected. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. After I talked to her, I felt like that was really one of the first times. Thank you for the biddies, you the best. Thank you so much. I felt like that was one of the first times that I ever, because I think prior to that, in carrying my abuse and carrying stuff that had happened and all my little hurt, I felt that there was a division between she and I. And oh my goodness, and I'm gonna tell you, these are my real thoughts as a child and coming up. If your mama don't love you, and if your mother doesn't know who you are, then who else is gonna love you? And just da 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 da. Now, mind you, it wasn't because my mother was acting hateful towards me. That's not what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. But that sense of I'm in a world and we're total strangers to one another. My
Mm-hmm.
mother is my stranger. Now, that being said, I did have a situation that happened that her response created some of that in me as a small child, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then listen, wherever you get wounded and wherever you get hurt at, in my opinion, if you don't get that space and place healed, whenever you get hurt and wounded down the road, you're still going to revert back to where you got hurt and wounded way, way, way back there. It pops its
It's the truth.
it
It's
pops
the
its
truth.
head. So that was the only way I could get past that. And I think that longing of wanting to have that connection to my mom, I want, all children, I want my mama. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't after certain scenarios and certain abuse, I didn't feel that that was there. And especially again, because of the church background and the way the church handled stuff, I knew very few church families that were close, really close. Do
Mm-hmm.
we look like we close? Yes, we look like we close. But then to really be close, that's two different things. So, yes, I felt like I had a very positive outcome. It started a conversation that we were able to talk and share. And believe it or not, I was in ministry because I was doing a women's conference in Atlanta, Georgia, at a women's retreat when we had this conversation. And it was life changing for us.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. Let me see. Um, I'm trying to get my comments keep popping off. And do you see that last comment
Which
from
one?
you the
I
best?
can scroll back.
Okay,
I'm gonna get Shelly Thunder.
okay, go ahead.
Uh, she gets gut wrenching pains when in those situations, and it makes you too uncomfortable to ignore. And I think she's talking about paying attention to her intuition. Sheila said her ears sharpen to the words, and she looks into their eyes. And y'all know how I feel about eyes. Everybody that's on Yes You O Cube, look in folks' eyes because their eyes will tell you so much. I see you. SK. Lots of folks are conditioned or traumatized away from trusting their intuition. That's from You the Best. And that is a true statement. Coming on down, Shelly Thunder said they are trained to fear it because when shared, no one believes them. So they grow up to ignore it. And that's very unfortunate. That's from Shelly Thunder. You the
Mm-hmm.
Best. Growing up in white schools is where I felt the most vulnerable and was. That's when I started shutting down. And like I said, 40 years later, I'm intentionally, I love that, make that thing intentional. I'm intentionally opening up again. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. You the best. And Sheila said, woo, child, growing up in white schools. And
Ah,
she and Sheila, SK, for anybody that doesn't know, is my biological sister. And yes, we grew up in a predominantly white school, and it's a whole nother can of worms. I'm trying to tell you, it really, really is.
oh wow.
Shelly Thunder came back and said, the eyes don't lie. And then somebody speaking in tongues, number 42, welcome to the stream. Shabalaba. Welcome, Shabalaba. Come on in the
Oh,
room, Shabalaba.
that's funny. Yes. I think our viewers, honey, they own it.
They
They in
own it.
that thing. They
They
in that
own it.
thing.
They own it.
I think it's important to go ahead and like you said, you the best said she's intentionally, was that her?
Yes.
Intentionally.
And I will say this: she just put punched in. She's crying right now, thinking about those years. And so, you the
Mhm.
best. We sending you all kind of love, all kind of
Yes.
positive vibes, all kind of healing. And I know you're in that journey. You've been in it for 13 years, I believe you said. And thank you for being vulnerable. This is a
Thank you.
vulnerable space right here. And thank you for
Mhm.
being vulnerable with us. We love
Mhm.
you.
We love you. Yes, I feel like the moment that I felt most vulnerable was when I decided to go ahead and go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Um because I was at a place where I was at a place where I couldn't continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go to therapy to kind of help me get back in a better mental state. But I just remember um deciding to do that and actually being in that therapist office for the first time and filling out paperwork. And I tell you that I was so afraid. I was so petrified. I was so afraid of of opening this stuff up that I had just been closing, zipping up, sewing up, putting stuff on it, putting locks in the door, going to throw the key away. And I was so afraid to open it and deal with that stuff. But when I did, that's why I said that was the most vulnerable moment
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
And then actually going and speaking to somebody I didn't know, somebody who doesn't know me, but speaking with them and telling them all these things that I needed to get healed that was inside of myself. Um, it was the scariest stuff. It's the scariest thing I've ever done in my life,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the most healing.
Yes.
And um, afterwards, looking back on how afraid I was and how vulnerable I had to be, I just, it made me look at things differently. And so I think after that, if I'm coming to a situation where I feel like I have to be open and vulnerable, and it might be I might have the option of being hurt or something, I almost try to push myself towards that. And I'm not, the best at it yet, but I know that in those spaces, in those vulnerable spaces, that's where your power is,
Yes.
and that's where you're gonna grow at.
Yes.
And basically, if you don't do that, you're just gonna continue with this stuff inside you that's not gonna do anything but kill you.
Yes.
So
That's
I try to see vulnerable situations and places where I'm most weakest at, and am I sure I want to show this? I see those as opportunities for me to you know, go deeper and get stronger.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I want to give you an applause, Lena, because you did that. You did that. You did that. And that step of going and deciding, I can't move forward. I can't go any further. I'm going to go. And I want to encourage, even from that place. Some of you may not be at that point where it's like, I can't go another further, but there's nothing wrong with saying, I acquiesce and I'm going to go get therapy. I feel
Mhm.
like the Black community, especially, everybody, but I'm talking to the Black community, especially, we've got to become very comfortable and get away from this negativity that we have surrounding therapy. We've got to get comfortable with the idea of going and getting professional help. And I shouldn't be backed against the wall. I can't, I can't look to, and that was me. That was me, honey. The reason that I was going is like, either I'm gonna go or I'm on suicide, one of the two.
Mhm.
So it's like, can we get to a healthy space where it's like, okay, before I see myself coming completely off the rails, can I go ahead and say, let me take myself to therapy and let me just work through some stuff. Let me work through some
Right.
grief. Let me work through some loss. And it doesn't have to be so devastating that I'm ready to suicide. But nonetheless, wherever and however you decide to go, please go.
Please go. And it doesn't mean, you know, we're able to. I think that that's also has a lot to do with being vulnerable, because we're not taught, oh, if you have issues, get some help. We're not really taught that. We're taught, you got something, you got some issues, you figure it out and you be strong and you go for it. You'll be all right. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And it's like some stuff, and it doesn't even have to be the heavy stuff. I think that therapy is like somebody who doesn't have any skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're not um, diluted. They're not all that. They're there to hear you, to help
Mm-hmm.
you, to show you what's the crazy, what's not the crazy, to give you tips and pointers and perspective
Yeah,
that you're unable to hear or see from somebody else. And I just think that, from experience, it's a game changer. So
that's
even
good.
if you're afraid or scared of anything, I say definitely open yourself up to that if you feel like you need it. And like Angie said, you don't have to be at a point of, you know, demise. You can just be like, something, something needs some work right there. And
It's
go.
on. Come
Because
on.
honey, let me tell you something. The stuff in your life, either you gonna deal with it or it's gonna deal with you.
Come on.
Either way.
Deal
And
with it.
so deal with it. Go ahead and go through it. One of my favorite motivational speakers is Eric Thomas, ET. He says, deal with it.
Deal with it.
Deal with it.
Deal with
Go
it.
through it. Go
Come
through
on.
it.
Come
I
on.
love ET.
I, I'm looking.
Y'all go look up
I have an
ET.
emote, Lena, that is specifically deal. It's a deal with it emote. I don't know where it is. Maybe
Ah,
Rebel may be able to. Oh wait a minute, Rebel may be able to put it in for me out there.
put it
But
up there.
I got to deal with it. I think I got it. I got to deal with the emote because I mean you got to deal with it. As Royal Confessions used to say, if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you. You got
It
to deal
will
with it.
deal with you. And you got to say, Eric Thomas, he always put a T on the end of it. I
It.
mean, he says, deal with it. Deal with it. Like on everything. So I
Don't put
always
that
say
T
that.
on there.
Like, he ain't playing with y'all. Ah, so we have to our viewers, I think it's a good point for us to show the video that I was wanting everybody to see. This is basically a video about vulnerability, an idea of vulnerability. And there's a lady by the name of Brene Brown. She is a clinical research worker who is also a public speaker. She's an author of 5 bestseller books. And she focuses her clinical research on courage and vulnerability and shame and empathy. So I want us to watch this. Y'all let me know after we watch it. I want to get some opinions. So here we go.
So I think the biggest myth about vulnerability is that it's weakness. I think a lot of people were raised to believe that. It was modeled, I think, certainly in our culture. Um, we see that a lot, that to be vulnerable, to be open, to be exposed is to be weak. And the truth is, what I found in my research is that vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, I would argue that it's our greatest measure of courage. When we went out and asked people, what is vulnerability? We heard things like, vulnerability is the first date after my divorce. Vulnerability is starting my own company. Vulnerability is taking responsibility for something that went wrong at work. Vulnerability is sitting with my wife who has stage 3 breast cancer and making plans for our young kids. Vulnerability is taking my business public. The definition I use in my work of vulnerability is simply uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Vulnerability is about the willingness to show up and to be seen, even when there are no guarantees. And it's interesting to me. I mean, one of the things that I thought was really interesting, I gave a talk, it's probably a couple of years now, and it was being translated by people doing American Sign Language. And they came up before the talk started. And they said, are there any words that you're going to use a lot in your talk that we should know about that or might be different? And I said, well, I use the word vulnerability a lot. And there were 2 of them. They kind of looked at each other and they said, oh, we do this for vulnerability. And I said, what does that mean? They said, it means weak in the knees. And I'm like, wow, that's not how I talk about vulnerability. And she said, well, there's only one other sign for vulnerability. And I said, what is it? And she said, and I said, oh, that's what I'm talking about. And so to me, vulnerability is our most accurate measure of courage. I mean, it's pretty powerful when I have 13,000 pieces of data collected over 12 years that I cannot find a single incident or story of courage that was not completely underpinned by vulnerability. I think the problem arises that there's so many little paradoxes with vulnerability. And one of them is that vulnerability is courage in you, but weakness in me. When I meet you, it's the first thing I look for in you, but it's the last thing I want to show you in me. And so I think to really put ourselves out there, knowing that if we do that enough, we're going to fail, I just don't think it gets more courageous than that.
Yes. That was Brene Brown, guys. I don't know if y'all heard of her. If you've ever, she has a TED Talk. I say go watch her TED Talk. She has 5 books. Daring Greatly is one of her books. They're great. I said go and watch what she has been spending all her career studying. Hey Jean, what do
Yes.
you think about what we just heard? What is your opinion or your thoughts or
I liked particularly the idea of where she reacted and responded to the idea of I don't accept weak in the knees. I do
mm-hmm,
accept the opening up of the heart, the opening up of the self. I love that. I love that.
mm-hmm,
And I think really that she spoke the truth when she said in our society we have been socialized that vulnerability is a negative, and even the
mm-hmm.
idea that that would be the sign, the weak in the knees. And
Yeah.
why does it have to be that? Why do we automatically have to go to that space? Why can't it really be to celebrate and to talk about the courage that it takes to really open yourself up and open your heart? I thought that was powerful. That's what impacted me.
Mm-hmm. Chat, I would love to hear what you all heard, what you all thought of that video. What was your favorite part of that video? I think that my favorite, the part that's kind of sticking out to me right now is where she was speaking about how vulnerability, all the instances of vulnerability that she had studied, it basically boiled down to courage. And so I don't think I don't necessarily put those two together when I think of
Mhm.
vulnerability and when I think of courage. I don't think it takes courage to be vulnerable, but it does. It
Mhm.
does take a lot of courage to just put yourself out there. When you think about people, I think deep down it's about connection with people. And if you're not able to be vulnerable, then you're not able to connect with people.
Yes.
And that's the whole I think that's what's important in life is your relationships with people, and so I think that that's interesting, and also the example she gave of when people felt most vulnerable,
Yes.
and I think it was she gave an example of the guy whose first date after a divorce, somebody opening a business, somebody taking their business public, and it almost seems like it's at the points where it's a make or break point, you
Yes.
know, and it's like you can lose the most. This is where I feel the most vulnerable, but also you can win the most. So I thought it was interesting. Have you heard of her before?
Yes. I'm familiar with Brene Brown. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think Oprah, I think she did like a what's name talk. What did Oprah used to do those spiritual talks or something?
Yes.
Super
She
Soul Sundays.
Super Soul Sunday. She was a frequent flyer with Oprah. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think
And I
that's
think she said again.
no. I was just gonna say I think that's probably how most people like myself would know her outside of the
Hmm.
arena that she normally operates in.
Hmm.
Oh, we got a male response. Come on, come on, come
Okay,
on,
go.
driver. This is
Listen.
Mufasa.
Okay, let me see. He said, as a man, I would like to say that as a man, we don't like to talk about our problems to no one. We try to fix it ourselves. But want to say that since I've been on Twitch, I've met people that have changed me on how looking at my state of mind. So now I'm on the road to healing and want to thank my family and pastor for the push. I don't have much to say now because I'm still healing. Yes, yes. And that's all right.
Yes, Mufasa.
That
Move.
is all right.
I love it. I love it.
I love it too.
I love it.
I want to commend you, and we want to give you encouragement on your journey. And I'm telling you, it's so worth it. And when you get to the further you go, the stronger you're gonna get.
Yeah.
It's just how that thing works. Um, but I think that's also very good. From the male perspective, I feel like women struggle with vulnerability, and everybody struggles with it. But I think sometimes for the men, it's a little even more difficult, right? Because a lot of men are in their relationships are supposed to be, the provider, the guy, you go to this person for protection,
Yes.
and so then to also understand that, a male or a man does have, points where he needs to be vulnerable, just like any other person. I think
Yes.
it's a great thing to realize, and we all need to give people space to be that way.
I agree, brother. You got another brother on that came in. Appreciate you, Damon. Thank you so much, Pastor Blessed. Come on, come on, come on. Represent for the men. I love it. I love and
Yes.
men having a conversation about vulnerability. This is
Yes.
just awesome.
It is awesome. So Damon, he said, I believe I felt most vulnerable when I began to tell everyone that I lost my job outside of family. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you touched on that men, we have that you're supposed to be the provider, you're supposed to be the
Hmm.
protector, and da 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 da. Da. And
Yeah.
somehow or another, we strap down this ability to just be who we are and create some level of where you really don't want to tell somebody. Should life be like that, where something happens in your life and you really don't want to tell anybody because what people are going to think, what they're going to feel, or how they're going to respond and react to you, as if because definitely has nothing to do with your manhood or anything else. How is it that we've created this kind of society where vulnerability, and especially for men, is thrown right out the window?
That is interesting. I think that, and just like truck driver said, you try to fix it on your own, and you don't want to tell anybody. You just kind of, you put yourself in this little bubble, and it's lonely in this bubble. And
Yes.
but you need people. Pop the bubble. That's what I say. And and I think that it's going to be some pushback because we've lived this whole way with these ideas, these ideas that are not serving us, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be a period to where it's like friction, and you have to kind of deal with the feelings. Okay, am I going to let myself feel this way, or am I going to let myself feel this way? And so once we can get to that place where everybody's human, everybody's going to have these basic emotions. You're going to have to be vulnerable. You're going to have to, you know what I mean? You're going to have these feelings. So I think that it's just a matter of raising each other up to this new level of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my opinion of it. I always wonder about this because I didn't grow up with a lot of close male perspective, and so I just always wonder, what is it that how do people deal with this type of stuff? Let me see. Damon said another church taboo. I felt vulnerable when I had to decide to leave my church to protect my family. Quotes my son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So when you had to kind of separate, that's when you kind of felt most vulnerable. I mean, but you have to do what you have to do,
Especially when it comes
especially
to
when
your
it comes to your kids.
especially when it comes to your children. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Uh, um do you feel, how do we approach those kinds of situations to help encourage? These brothers had the courage, whether it was truck driver and his, I'm going to work through, I'm going to heal, because there are a lot of scenarios where people don't work through, they don't make that choice, they don't heal, they don't make that choice, they don't choose my son over a church location because what are the people going to say, and what is my name going to become mud amongst them? Are they going to, lose relationships? There's so many elements to why people will not go ahead and be vulnerable and unfortunately continue on in that cover up that's constantly destroying them. What do you think, and how would you speak to that? How can we help to break that down? How can we help to change that?
You know, I think that it's a long road, and I think it's a difficult road. But I think that if you have children, if you have kids, if you have young people around you, I think it's important to teach them that you're not just like you're not just in this little box. Even though you're a man, it doesn't mean you don't have to align your manhood with this and that. And I
Mhm.
think that we just have to teach our kids differently so that people can be full people. And it's nothing wrong with being a provider. And if you lose your job, it doesn't mean that you're not a provider. It just meant that you lost your job.
Right.
You
Right.
know, if you get into a situation that is you feel is different from who you see yourself as, you have to realize that that's not who you are, and it's just a situation that life has thrown at you. Um, this is something that, this is something that I have to think about also in my relationships. I have expectations. I think that for a guy, for a man, that I think that sometimes it's not the, or I think it's okay to want a man who's a provider, but I'm not somebody who would be upset if like somebody lost a job or something, but I think that, we put expectations on each other. Even women, like, we put expectations on each other, and then we're not able to see the actual person. And sometimes it's more about the role that this person is going to play in your life than the actual person.
Come on, that's a good word.
So I think that it's important to kind of see people for who they are, and I understand that now. I understand, originally I don't really have issues with gender roles. If it works for you in your relationship, I think it's okay. But sometimes it makes more sense for if you have a person who is full and can do whatever they need for themselves to survive, and then you have another person who also is full, then you come together, have a relationship, then it's not so much pressure to be the man or the woman. You can just be yourselves, and it's okay. And you lean on each other. um but I think to help it, I think that we all just need to kind of give each other space to be human, give each other space to, kind of break down some of the things you have in your mind as to what something is supposed to look like, and, be open to grow. That's what I think. And I
Mhm.
say teach the kids, teach our boys that, this is not what manhood should rely on. You are a man. This is who you are, and this is what comes with it. And then I think that we should just teach people to be all around humans.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's not so much pressure on one person in a relationship. You just yourself. You can
Mhm.
go forth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
I
that's what I
love
think.
that. I love that. One reason I want to welcome you to the room. Come on in the chat. We appreciate you. This brother, you want to follow him. Please follow One Reason. And I think I failed to mention follow Crazy Berrytown as well. But please follow One Reason. This brother, I'm telling you, he is the best. So please go out there. The gospel takeover. This brother brings it. I heard him on yesterday afternoon, man. He was killing it with Lauryn Hill. I was like, oh my God, come on with it. Come. I was loving every
Yes.
minute of it. Thank you so much for coming in the room. And thank you. I see your It Takes Trust in your support systems. We have
Yes.
to remove the stigmas and the gender roles. I love, love, love that. And it takes somebody that is courageous enough to be vulnerable to move outside of those gender roles. So I love you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for
Mhm.
saying that. You the best said, preach, Lena. Preach.
Preach, preach. Come on now. Okay.
Preach. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. I love it. I love it. I think vulnerability is a powerful word that you've chosen today, and I'm glad that you have taken it on because a lot of people, this is an area of opportunity. It's an area of opportunity. It really, really is because we don't see the courage. And I'm gonna ask the chat that statement that was made by Brene Brown. Do you feel that it takes courage to be vulnerable? And even in that, the ability for those that have allowed themselves to be vulnerable in their lives, applaud yourself for the courage that it takes to be vulnerable. But do you all agree with that statement when she said it takes courage? And I'm gonna ask you first, Lena, do you really feel like it takes courage to be vulnerable?
um, I personally think that it does take a lot of courage to be vulnerable. I think that it's it's because it's gonna be you overcoming some type of fear, or overcoming the thought of the bad outcome happening for you to actually do that thing that you
Mm-hmm.
want to do. And not even if you're not talking about trauma or abuse, or if you're not talking about people, you're talking about, situations like, asking for promotion at work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes you vulnerable, because then you have to, sit there and talk yourself up to your boss and let them know, I can do this job. When you talk about opening a business, I think that takes vulnerability, because you have to really put yourself out there. Talk about somebody who's an artist and they're just putting their music out there. It takes courage, it takes vulnerability, and to put yourself out there so that you may receive the good from it. And you have to be able to, you know, I think if you want to be vulnerable and you're having issues with it, I think maybe you should just consider the worst situation that is gonna happen. So if you meet somebody and you want to start a relationship with them, but you're afraid to say something, What's the worst that can happen? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they can reject me. Okay, what would you do if they rejected you? Well, I'll be upset for a little bit and then I'll move on. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you can see the outcome of the work situation and you see that, okay, well, I will be okay after that, then you continue to go. You just do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
And
see.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I see you working with that worst case scenario. That works for you. I see that, and that's cool. Yeah,
That
yeah.
works for me because I have anxiety really bad. So the worst case scenario always pops into my mind. So
Mm-hmm.
my life hack, or they call it, sometimes they call it biohack, is just to go ahead and work through it. What will happen? You know, what would you do? Are gonna be okay at the end? All right. Well, go ahead and do whatever it is you're scared to do. you know, and that's just how I deal with it. Now, a lot of people have different ways of going about it, or just staying positive and just sitting with this is what's positively going to help. Oh, I had seen this video of this. I was listening to a podcast. This lady, she was an Olympian, and she was an Olympian. She was going to be in the Olympics, and so her coach had her visualizing for like 6 months her winning this race. Six
Yes,
months every day, she's just visualizing it. And I believe in visualization. I
I
think
do
it's
too.
good.
I do too.
But she said what happened was she got to that race and she didn't win. She lost, and so then she had this like really big dip where she was depressed for a long time. But she said that um, she couldn't see anything else except for the winning. And so then when the winning didn't happen, she didn't know where to go or what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also like a way, because if you can see yourself being okay with it not going through, then it can't hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
can't stop you.
Yeah.
So if you visualize yourself winning, yes, that's what you want to do. But if you don't win, what do you do after that? Well, I'm going to train harder after the race, and the next time I'm going to win. You have to look at it in different ways. So that's
Yes.
how I deal with it.
I love it. I love it.
Hmm.
Now, there's actually, I'm gonna go back and read the responses to that, and then I'm gonna hold Evangelist T. I'm gonna call you Evangelist T45. The Evangelist has a question. I'm gonna ask you to respond and give me your thoughts on that. But the
Okay.
question that we asked the chat, you the best said, I believe it takes courage, especially after a trauma. Talking about vulnerability, it does. One reason said because you have to step out of your thoughts first, and so
Hmm.
there's vulnerability and courage, or courage in moving in that vulnerability there. SK8843 says vulnerability requires courage and trust. um
Hmm.
you the best came back and said that's why therapy and readings and things of of that nature are helpful. You have an objective, and she's responding to, I'm going to bring you back to the question that the evangelist, or the comment that the evangelist made, and I'm going to save that for last. But
Okay.
this is what you the best is responding to. You have an objective listener who should not be telling your business. And then you the best said she also accepts the worst case scenarios. Pastor Damon said, from the pastor's kid point of view, it's hard to talk to or confess things to your pastor who's your parent. I've been there, done that. Oh my goodness. I remember one time I got in an argument with my dad, and I said, you don't know how to tell the difference between my pastor and my father.
Ah.
Did do it. I did do it. I told him, I said, you don't know how to tell the difference between my pastor and my father. That is a slope that is really something. I hear you, Pastor Damon. Good afternoon. She's First Lady. Thank you. And come on in the room. So glad to have you. Visualization is praying in pictures. Come on here, you the best. Visualization. I love you, you the best. You
I
the
love that too.
you the best. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad to
Random
have you
pictures.
in here this evening. Yeah, I cannot let my imagination run wild with what ifs. One reason is responding there. SK, who is also my sister and a PK, also said that part, Pastor Blissett, because I'm a PK also. So she knows about that. We know about being PKs, preachers' kids.
Hmm.
She's First Lady said, my therapist has told me she applauded me for my vulnerability. Come on here.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we're going to applaud you too. She's First Lady. We're going to applaud you too. Come on with that.
Good
Come
job.
on with that. Come on with that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I want to go back up, Lena, and I want to catch the evangelist had a somewhat lengthy comment question that she made up here, and I want you to speak on this. it's hard to be open. It's hard to open up because folks talk too much. You confide in somebody only for that person to go running their mouth. Now you don't know who to trust with your secrets. Vulnerability and confidentiality, lost art. Speak on that.
Um, Therapy. It's people you can. Therapists are they by law they can't talk about your business. If
Mm-hmm.
they talk about if they talk about your business, they go to jail or they lose their license.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that I'm telling you because it's and even to the comments where, I think I'm not sure who said it, but they said that they confide in the pastor who's also the parent.
Mm-hmm. That's Damon.
That's
Damon.
them. Yeah. If you go to a therapist, there's nothing that you have to like. You don't have to think about how you're saying it. You don't have to like withhold stuff. You don't have to think about how somebody's going to take you. You can literally just be exactly who you are, say whatever you're going to say. If it's vulgar, if you're going to cuss, if you want to say if you want to say you wish somebody was dead, if you want to say like it could be anything, and therapist is going to sit there and be like and
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, and that's where this is coming, and it's like complete confidentiality, complete freedom, and you can actually deal with the stuff instead of thinking about how somebody's going to take you. So, I mean, I see the comment because it's like you have, close friends, you have, siblings or family that you're close with, and you feel like you should be able to confide in those people. But, sometimes if we're talking about healing and if we're talking about you feeling safe, it needs to be somebody that is not connected to the situation at all. And it
Yeah.
needs to be somebody that doesn't have any skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say. Or even if you do like some type of like group therapy or something, you can talk about that stuff. But I mean, there are some people out there that will just listen. You
Yeah.
know, it's just that you have to find them. And so I guess that goes back to the discernment. And maybe you have to. If you feel like you can't go to therapy, you don't like that, maybe just test something out on somebody, and then if you feel like they're a safe person to go and confide in, then that's who you do that with. But yeah, it's unfortunate because yeah, sometimes that does happen. But I'll also say to that point, and this is probably kind of different, but you have to think, am I going to worry about what people think of me and who knows stuff, or am I going to worry about my my emotional and mental health? So if you need to just talk to somebody, just talk to them. And if your business end up on the other side of the town, fuck them. Like it don't matter what people say. It really doesn't. What matters is you're okay. You're not crying at night by yourself. You're not upset by yourself. What matters is that you're living and not just here. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So
Yes.
people gonna know stuff. And I also say you might say something to somebody and it might get across town, but that person across town might need to know you was going through that to find courage in themselves to deal with the stuff they're going through, because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going through stuff, every single person, and you never know who's dealing with what. So sometimes it's better to put everything out there, forget secrets, put it all out there, and
Yes.
let's all heal. I
Yes.
take healing over the secrets, but
Yes.
I say that with a grain of salt because I understand.
Yes.
It's hard to kind of speak about some of that stuff that you feel most vulnerable about, and but we have to get away from caring about people's opinions. And I'm speaking to myself too. We have to get away from caring about people's opinion and care more so about our health. And so that's what I feel.
I agree. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you what, because my part of my therapy dealt with how much secrecy. I mean, you talk about being cloaked and veiled in secrecy. And listen, church folk can be the worst for it. Cause listen, everything's a secret and you get to know stuff, your business, everybody else's business. But then when it came to myself, uh, the secrecy was so thick that one of the exercises, matter of fact, two different exercises that my therapist gave me at the onset, because I just, other than my therapist, it was like, getting into a point where I can start to open up because I was so closed. And so one of the exercises that he gave me was to actually go find an absolute stranger, kind of feel them out, you kind of develop some kind of loose rapport, but we're not trying to be best friends. We're not best buddies, but because listen, that's kind of stalkerish, but just go and then he said, just tell them, just
Tell them.
tell them. And he said, because you're going to walk away, you're never going to see them again.
No skin in the game.
There's no skin. You're never, but it's just the idea of you opening up to somebody outside of just me as your therapist and get that opportunity to say it and then just get up and walk away. And he said, I promise you, it's going to be so liberating. And
It
it
is.
was.
This is I don't know if anybody one of the 12-step programs for
Uh-huh.
like alcohol or any type of addiction that you have. One of
Yes.
the steps is confess whatever you feel like you've done wrong to somebody or whatever and
Yes.
leave it there.
And leave
And
it.
it's like it's just a matter of getting it out of you. And
Yes.
whatever else happens, that's life. Let it happen. That's one thing I want to say. And then I wanted to say that it slipped my mind. It slipped my mind what I wanted to
Oh,
say.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's
And I'll
okay.
say the other two things that was suggested as well because of the vulnerability. And this is how I worked up to being able to talk to my mom. And this
Mhm.
is the truth. This is how I worked up to being able to talk to my mom. So one of the other exercises was before the environment was as critical as it is now. It was a matter of writing it down, taking a balloon and setting it off with this piece of paper and just put it on the balloon, let it just float away. And
Oh
then
yes.
what I actually did right at the day that I talked to my mother at that conference, it was the exercise of write it all down. And then I
Mhm.
sat there and I talked with her about it. And then we were at a location that had a huge, huge fireplace going. And I did this with myself as well as the other ladies that were at that conference. That's why I'm telling people sometimes you in there, the preacher's getting healed the same time you are.
You hear me?
You understand the words that are coming out of because we're real people too. So we wrote it down, talked about it, took that time to talk about it. And then the symbol was take that piece of paper where you wrote it down, put it in the fire, let it burn up, and then start new
Let
from
it burn up.
there.
Let
Yeah,
it burn up.
let it burn up.
Also, I want to say you don't go through the things that you go through for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you think about stop trying to take so much ownership over it. Abuse and trauma is a universal things, and people have dealt with it years before us,
Yeah.
decades before us, generations before us. People will hopefully not deal with it as much in the generations to come, but they will deal with it. So if
Yes.
you think about it in a way like, first of all, I'm not the only one dealing with it. Second of all, it's not mine. I
Mm-hmm.
need to let it go so that it can go out. And then I think if that happens, then we everybody could be more so on a level playing field. We all can heal together.
Yes.
And I wanted to also say I remember before I went through the whole process of therapy and all that type of stuff. I used to work for it was something like called Share Fairs. It's a place in Kansas City. It's a place where you pick up like disabled people or older people who can't get to work or doctor's appointments, and you pick them up and you transport them different places. So I picked up this lady once, and she was like this older white lady. You know, she was very sweet. She lived in Independence. I ain't supposed to be telling her information, but she lived in Independence, and I remember like we would I would just be talking. I talked to all of the people that I drove, but she literally would just be talking, and I didn't ask her anything, and she would just say, I went through these things in my life. Like she would give me her whole life story, and she would say, she went through abuse, and she, had these husbands. She had like two or three husbands, and she learned a little bit about herself in each marriage, and she ended up having to go to therapy, and she was just talking openly and freely about this stuff that maybe some things that I've dealt with, but it's so boggled down inside of me. And I'm like, how can she
Mm-hmm.
be existing and living and being okay? And she's been through this stuff.
Yeah.
And what happened was it empowered me a little bit. And
Yes.
so then when it came to the point in my life that I needed to probably go to therapy, and I did, I thought back to this lady who was basically giving me her testimony, and she didn't know it. She was just talking, but basically it helped encourage me to go ahead and get the help that I felt like I needed
Yes.
to continue with my life.
Yes.
So I'm telling y'all, I don't think, it's a difficult process. And like Angie was saying, she had to, build up to speaking with her mom, and that's what it is. It is a process, and just look. Even if you're going a fourth of an inch by a fourth of an inch, just continue to go. No matter how slow it is, you might have to put stuff away and deal with it a week, a year later, a decade later, but just continue to go ahead and deal with that stuff and be as vulnerable as you can in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's good stuff, Lena. That's good
Yeah.
stuff.
It is. And also, sometimes it is difficult to speak about some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's okay if you can't talk about it right now. Just continue to work on it. When it's time for you to talk about it, when it's time for you to deal with it, you will.
Correct.
It's a building process.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
I'm cracking up at this chat because there's some good stuff in here, and then I'm just gonna mess with Crazy Berrytown because people cannot believe that Crazy Berrytown has a husband that is an ordained minister.
Okay.
So listen, let me get my sound effect going here because this is what the chat is doing. The chat is just cracking up. They can't believe it. They're shocked. They're amazed. And Crazy Berrytown said, why? Because I'm so off the chains. I love Crazy Berrytown. And this is the thing about it. I think when we start talking about roles and we start talking about this and that and the other, as far as expectations and so on and so forth, I love the idea of people just being able to be free and be themselves with no expectations.
Mhm.
And so do you feel, and Crazy Berrytown, little Shelly Thunder, you ain't right. You are not right. Y'all are not right. You are not. Crazy Berrytown, I feel you all day long. You the kind of person that I want to see and I want to be. I'm telling you. So at the end of the day, I love it when we can let people be who they are. Now, that being said, the expectations that we set up for people in roles, is that part of what really keeps us from being vulnerable? We don't want to let people down in their expectations of the role that they feel like we're supposed to play in a certain role. Is that keeping us from being vulnerable? Is that keeping us from being ourselves and just, transparently putting ourselves out there and just, hey.
I think that it's also ourselves, have an idea how we want to present ourselves to the world and present ourselves in a relationship. And it's like, I think that's okay, but you have to let yourself be able to, you know, be open. And when you feel like you've experienced a failure, you feel like you're about to be able to experience that with your people, not by yourself. I think that it is a part of it, but I think it's also a matter of people trying to get to know themselves and the fact that, everything is not everything. Sometimes you have to learn even yourself through stuff. So I think if we had a space to where we could, if you know, the scariest thing is that we feel like it's going to take something away from our lives. That's why we are afraid to be vulnerable. Um, but if we could just get to a point where we realize that it's going to be okay in either situation, then I think that would free us up more to just be who we are
Mm-hmm,
and be vulnerable. And when
mm-hmm.
something is something that we don't necessarily want people to know, or we feel like it's a failure or anything, we still can speak on it and experience that with people as opposed to with our just by ourselves.
I got you. I'm gonna digress just for a second to the evangelist because I hope that you're not feeling. I feel like there's a wound or a nick or something that has been inflicted here, and definitely not by intention. She said, "I was hoping that I would be entitled to my opinion. I was speaking in general. Everybody talking about going to a therapist. How do you get the therapist if you don't trust the person giving the referral? And
Mhm.
so if I go to a therapist, do you really care about my problems, or are you only listening because I paid you?" Now, I can, if I can, and please accept my apologies if it's come across as if your opinion is not important, because it really, really is. And
Right.
I'm going to speak even from the standpoint of, even outside of that was part of my issue. Even for myself, I wanted to have, what do I want to say? My friends and those in my environment care and listen. Can I just make it that simple? I wanted people. And so this was, for me, and I'm gonna be real vulnerable and share for real. This was part of my issue when I was suicidal, because it was like, as well as educated, as knowledgeable as I was, if I got to pay somebody to listen to me, if I got to pay somebody to listen to me, if I got to pay somebody to listen to what I've gone through, then what's the point of me being here? Because you're not going to go home with me. You're not going to be here and there and everywhere with me. You're only doing this because I'm paying you, which was constantly working on my sense of lack of self-worth. And man, if I got to pay somebody just to listen to me, I don't have friends. I don't have family. I don't have people in a support system. That became very devastating and draining to me mentally, to the point that I felt like, well, then I might as well not be here. And I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not talking to anybody else. And I'm just sharing my experience in some of the places that I went with that sense of, you're just listening to me because you're paying me. But I also, and I'm not, even in saying this, I'm not trying to go back and push the agenda of therapy, because I do want to respect your opinion that you're looking for wholesome, healthy relationships so that you can share and be intimate and be vulnerable with individuals, just because, not necessarily because you're getting paid to listen to me. And for my own personal space, I felt that. But I also, at some point in time when I was suicidal, and I tell people, I do write a lot of poetry. I write a lot of poetry. A lot of people don't know that, but I've got books of poetry that I've written down through the years, because that was my means of escape back in the day. And I literally wrote a poem entitled "The Suicide," because I was sitting there with the razor blade for suicide on the bathroom floor. And at that point, it was like, okay, the intellect kicked in and said, you got an EAP hotline, use it. And so in using the EAP hotline at that point, that pushed me into the direction of a therapist, a paid professional. And I was in ministry. I'm just be completely transparent. I was in ministry, but I was suicidal because I was tired and I was very young. I was very, very young. A lot of things had already happened to that point. And I was like, if the rest of my life's going to be like this, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So at the end of the day, that was a part of my battle that I would have in my mind, was this idea, I'm just talking to somebody and they're just listening to me because they're getting paid. If they wouldn't get paid, they could care less. And it literally could care less. But at some point and I did have to go through 2 different therapists before I found a match, because the first person I got through the EAP program, when I went to that person's office, it was not a match. That was not a match. And my Shondo knew it. And so I was like, thank you very much. But there was something inside of me that was like, I cannot not go to therapy because I'm in trouble. So it was a reality. You're not the person, but I will find the right person. And I'm telling you, God hooked me up with the perfect person. What I realized after that, my inability to find people that I could connect with and they could connect with me and be vulnerable without being beat up and abused. I needed to be healed before I could even get to that, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that's everybody's experience, but I do relate to what you're saying, as far as my heart's desire was to have people in my life that were touchable, that could listen, that could understand. But I'm telling you what, as I got off into that thing, I realized my stuff was so deep and so extensive. My friends and families could not have talked me through that anyway. They were not trained professionals. I needed professional training. However, what I will say is once I got enough healing active in my life. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not even gonna say it's been a long time. I'm talking about on the personal level. Now, y'all know we can be real spiritual and churchy, and we can be on point in the spiritual and the churchy point, and be really off in our natural lives and what's really going on in our world. And that was me. I was really on and really powerful in the spiritual side, but my natural side was jacked up. So it was a matter of consolidating those two, what I call integration, because
Mhm.
said I was a chameleon and I could actually split all of that and multiple personality print there, and it's like integrate all of that back into one person. Integrate all of that. It's not my church Regina, it's not my preaching Regina, it's not this Regina and that Regina. There's one Regina, and stay that one Regina and be healed and be happy. I had to work through that, and that came through therapy. Once I got to a point where I could be halfway sane, if I can call it that, because people hear me preaching, I said, listen, I know there were some times my feet touched down on insanity. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? It was sheer insanity. Even though I was functional, even though I was intelligent, my intellect could be very deceiving, but baby, my feet were on insanity. And so ultimately I really couldn't have those kind of healthy relationships that I wanted until I got healed enough. And that was just my personal experience. That's not everybody's. But my personal experience was I had to get to some level of healing to be able to even attract the healed kind of people and the healed kind of relationship that I wanted. How do you feel about that, Lena? Any experience there? And again, sis Evangelist, I hope that you're not feeling. My apologies. I'm not going to say I hope you're not feeling, because you already expressed that. But my apologies. That's not our goal in any way, shape, or form to dish your opinion. And we're not trying to just everything about therapists. You're trying to understand and develop healthy relationships on a personal level. And I get it. Believe me, I get it more than you understand, because that was part of my almost insane frustration, was that I don't want to pay somebody. I want somebody to care about me. Lena, I don't know if you have any comment on that at all.
Yes, I also would like to apologize if she felt like if we were like not completely understanding or listening to her, because that wasn't the case. For me personally, it was difficult for me to speak with people that were close to me about the things that I had experienced and things that I felt like my trauma or abuse, because it was like I couldn't really get everything out or really deal with the actual issues, because when I would speak to people, it was like I was going through so many calculations in my mind to make sure that I wasn't trying to hurt anybody else. Like, because the people that are close to you, if something's happened to you, then people start taking on like their own. Oh, they feel guilt, they feel shame from stuff that's happened to you. So for me, having somebody that was not affected by my pain in that way, that wasn't connected to me, helped me heal, because I didn't have to worry about who it would get back to, or who, if it was going to hurt somebody to hear my opinions, or if I could actually say what I needed to say. That's why I was like, I'm so for therapy, because, and it's not a versus. It's not, oh, 2 points therapy, no points other things. It's not that. For me personally, the therapy works for me, because it was somebody who wasn't affected in that way by things that I had been through. I had to feel bad about speaking on stuff, um, because it had nothing to do with anybody else. And the therapist always said, every single, and I think this is something everybody deals with, but every single session she would say, this is you and I. You don't have to worry about anything. You can just be um uninterrupted. You can be fully who you want to be. You can say whatever you want to say. There is no judgment at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm so heavily for the therapy, and I think people need to could consider that. But there are a lot of different options, and you have different ways of dealing with some of the things that we've all been through. I think about I don't know if y'all have heard of her, but she's a comedian. Her name is Miss Pat. Have you heard of her, Angine?
No, I don't know Miss Pat. I don't think.
This lady has had the most tumultuous life. I don't know if that's the right word. She's had a rough life. She's been through so many crazy things that you would be like, what the hell? Like you would just be like, how is she dealing with all this stuff?
Right.
But the way that she deals with it is she's a comedian. She talks about it. She makes jokes about it. She laughs about it. She keeps everything on a jokey level, and that works for her.
Yes.
And when she does interviews, everybody's like, "How are you doing?" She's like, you know, I'm a comedian.
Yes.
So I think it's important for the moral of the story is you got some stuff going on and you need to be vulnerable. You need to get help. Do it whichever way you can. If you need to write it down, burn the paper. If you need to, talk to somebody. If you need to go to a therapist. If you need to just blog and so where nobody else hears it, but you just need to get it out of your body. Like
Yes.
do whatever works for you. Now
Yes.
and sometimes it's going to be a combination of stuff. That's the moral of the story. So we want everybody to hear that and to know that's the gist of what we want people to hear. Not that you're wrong in the way that you deal with stuff or anything like that. That's not what we're about. It's not what this podcast is about. reBOOT
reBOOT.
in whichever way you need to reboot.
And I do want to say this, and Lena, her, everybody that knows me knows her. My hairdresser became my best friend. And that's the truth. My hairdresser became my best friend. When I first started going get my hair, somebody just introduced her to me out of the blue. That is the truth. And she did my hair for probably 3 or 4 years. And I was one of those professionals, stick in the mud. You come in. She was like, one day she asked me, "Do you own a pair of jeans?" Because every time I came in, I was in a full suit. Everything was, and I sat in her chair every week because my hair, y'all know, this even right now with this hat on is like some of y'all like, where did that Regina come from? We don't even know her, but every hair had to be perfectly in place. That was it. And so at the end of the day, she started off with, "Do you own a pair of jeans?" So she's dealing with some things here. Like she's looking at me. Then finally she was like, one day she walked up to me and she said, "Your waist is down here. You got these pants all the way up to your breast. Pull them down." I mean, she is
working to get you right.
Oh, she had to get me right. She's getting me right. Then where do we go from there? You never look in the mirror. Why do you never look? And that's, y'all know, as a beautician, Lena, you hand the client the mirror. They look in the mirror. I would never look in the mirror. I'd always hand it back with her. She said, "What's going on here? What's really going on with you in this mirror?" So, then I had to answer to why am I not looking in the mirror? From there, we started having conversation. And I will tell you right now today, she is my very best friend. And there is absolutely, positively nothing in my life that I've done, said, or acted that Debbie doesn't know about. Because
wow.
I have that's the truth. If you want to know the real life story of Regina L. Stillman, Deborah Elaine Gibbs knows my story from beginning to end. So at some point in there, going back to evangelist, it's like at the end of the day, the universe, God, the Lord, whatever way you want to pull that, will provide. And from there, that was my first real raw and open vulnerable relationship where it's just me. This is just me. I don't have to put on any airs. I'm not the manager at City Hall. I'm not the preacher. I'm not any of that. I'm just Regina. Get you some jeans, pull them pants down off all the way up there, get down here on your waist, and let's look right. Let's have some fun. Let's do some whatever. But at the end of the day, it's that reality that God will bring people into your life that are trustworthy, that will not beat you down, that are not going to lie. And listen, there's stuff right now today that Deborah Elaine Gibbs knows about me that nobody on this earth will ever hear it, because it's going to go with her to the grave. She's not going to tell anybody. And I know it.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to have people like that. I think that, life is different. Life has got some ups and some downs. So you find what works for you. You find your people, your tribe, and you keep on pushing.
Yes.
Now I wanted to say, somebody in the comments said, and Jean, I think it was you the best. She said, "What is it in your shondo?" She said, "What's shondo?"
Okay.
Somebody said that.
Yes. Yes.
And if
Okay.
somebody else asks what I say is, I say,
Okay. So Shondo is this. I came from a Pentecostal background, a Pentecostal church, and people spoke in tongues, what we call speaking in tongues, speaking in other tongues.
hey,
Um,
oh, sorry.
yeah,
Ooh. You
exactly.
got
That right there. That right there. And oftentimes, the people that spoke in tongues would often end that tongue with Shando.
Hey, Shondo.
You had
Yeah.
Shondo in there. So at the end of the day, I shortened all of the rest off of the front. And I just said, and I have no shame in my game. I can be vulnerable there. I do speak in tongues. I do believe in speaking in tongues. I don't have a problem. Yet Shelly Thunder, didn't she put them tongues in there? Didn't she put them tongues in there, Lena?
Yeah, I got a tongues class on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Facebook. Anybody want to learn how to speak in tongues, I will teach you. Praise the Lord.
Hey, LaWanda Baskerville is in the room. Come on in, sis. Wanda got a vision. That's my
Hey.
Wanda vision. Come on in the room. I'm explaining Shondo, Wanda. So listen, at the end of the day, you hear me talk about, I felt something in my Shondo. Now, I do say it from a place of when she talked about pain coming out in a comedic form, that's really me. Much of the comedy that you hear me do and say is because it's developed, and that's been my sanity. Writing poetry was one. Cracking jokes, I've always been a clown, but that's always been a method of keeping myself together, sane and whole. There's healing in my laughter. A merry heart does good like a medicine. So there is some laughter in my usage of Shondo, but I'm not playing when I say Shondo, because when I get down in that place of Shondo, baby, that's where the Lord lets me know right, wrong, on, off, good, bad, whatever, wherever you want to go with that. Tongues,
It's like fire.
shut up.
Up in my bones.
Ah,
Hey, hey. Oh, okay.
hey, you better ask somebody. We just went
Yeah.
into Terry service for a minute. Terry service.
We'll take you there now. Listen, I went to restoration. We will take you there.
That's Shondo. That's
That's
Shondo.
Shonda. That's
Shut
Shonda.
up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Bones, bones, bones. Yeah, that was James Moore.
Get low on your brass. Ah, she know it. Y'all know y'all friends. Wait, AG. So do you know what I say is? Somebody else asked that. What is that? What does I say?
I can't
I
speak to
think
it. I have a concept of what it is, but I don't know well enough. So I'm gonna defer to you to let you explain. I say
I'm not. I think
she put it in there.
do the best.
It's
It means amen, and it's like an African term. She said that. So when you hear that, that's what that means. Something like amen.
okay. Yeah, yeah. And yes, there we go. It's an African way of saying amen. Thank you so much. You the best. It's an African way of saying amen. Just like Selah means stop and think on that for a second. Selah, pause, meditate, think about that for a second. That's what Selah means. All of these terms, come on, you're educating us and helping us grow. You the best. I appreciate you. And
Yes.
we're learning. And I want us to be open to learn other, whatever it is that comes into the space and comes in the room. I want to embrace it and be able to learn and grow together, one from the other. And so I appreciate that part. The people missing Christ was born flesh and blood. He has experienced everything that we go through. Matthew 26:42. Come on, she's first lady. She gonna have a sermon in here. He went in the second time and prayed, saying, "Oh my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink of it, thy will be done." Come on here. Come on, honey.
Yes.
She is first lady is speaking up in here. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So vulnerability. We got into that thing. I think we should do a last word. I want everybody to comment. What did you take most? What are you going to take away from this conversation? And also, what are you going to do to be more vulnerable in your coming time after this, in your years after this, in your weeks after this? What are we going to do? And Jean, do you have a part that you're taking away mostly?
I this is a part of my journey of healing, and so I thank you again for choosing this word on today. I have to say, when I saw it, I was like, because it is something that in my therapy, this is a really, really big issue for me. I'm going to continue on my journey, and I'm going to continue to heal so that I can allow the courage and the strength that's in me. If I made it through all the things that I've been through and I'm still here, that took courage just to be here.
Amen.
I can take that same courage and continue to be vulnerable, knowing that there's so many more beautiful relationships out here to have an experience, and I don't have to run scared. There are people that are trustworthy with my life and my feelings and my heart that are not going to trample me underfoot. And I'm going to keep doing it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. One reason said, did y'all turn that thing around already? I forgot.
Yeah, you forgot. You forgot. Turn that thing around.
We can do it. We can do it. We can do like one or two of them.
Sure.
Okay, so let's do turn that thing around, and then we'll end it. So for y'all who don't know, turn that thing around is our last segment. It's usually our last segment, and basically, what we do is we go through scenarios. We have different scenarios, and they're negative. They're things that we normally perceive as negative situations. What we do is we take it and we turn that thing around. So we see the positive in the negative situation, and perspective, in my opinion, is like the saving grace of any situation you find yourself in. Now, while ain't you? Okay, turn that thing around.
Questions here. Do you want me to ask the questions and you do the response?
Oh,
let's do.
okay.
I really like the millennial concept because I'm old and gray. Y'all gonna get the old version if I answer. Turn that thing around.
Let's do that, and also let's ask our viewers to also turn that thing around, give their opinion.
That sounds good.
So Gina's gonna ask the question, and then we're gonna see in the comments. Y'all give y'all's opinion on how to turn that thing around in a specific situation.
All right. You have decided to go to your boss at work and ask for that promotion because you deserve it and would do a great job, but he turns you down and gives it to someone else. Turn that thing around.
Okay, well, the positive in that is that now you understand that you are in a place where you've hit the ceiling. Okay, you recognize it. That's the one positive thing. Number two is you now can open yourself up to looking at different jobs. You don't have to feel bad about it now because you done already told your boss, listen, I'm the best person for the job. Steve is doing a job right now. Steve comes in 30 minutes late every Tuesday and Friday. I come in on time every day. I should have the job, not Steve. Now it's time for you to look for a different company. Let me tell you something. Everybody's hiring right now.
Raw confession said you got options.
You got options. Everybody's hiring right now, honey. You go out there and you look for the right place because let me tell you something. These sometimes people get confused and they get a little power. They're the branch manager, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Come on.
So you got to teach them a lesson because as soon as you leave that position, they're gonna be mad because now they got to do the job that you was doing. They should have gave you the manager position. There it is.
Come on. And you the best. I felt that in my shondo.
You the best.
Now you the best said if the person is qualified, I'll umber myself. If not, it's definitely time to find somewhere else to work. So
they ain't qualified. They ain't as qualified as you.
Come on.
You got the work experience. You got the degrees. You've been in the game for 10 years. You ain't took vacation. You've been there for them folks. Them folks ain't there for you. It's time to go. Oh.
Time to. You already updated your resume when you went in to pitch for that job. Thank your boss for pushing me to someone else that will cut the check for my gifts.
Listen, Shondo. I felt it in the Shondo.
Did you feel the Shondo? Did you
cut
feel
that check?
Cut the check. Come on, tall pumps. You better pump it. Cut the check. I love it.
The chat is ready. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
the check. That's
Cut
a
the
top pumps. You
check.
got all kind of converts over here. They conversion going on. Now, this one, you have a rough past with your parents and they did some mistreatment when you were a child. You're going to therapy, you're getting yourself together, and now you feel like you need to confront them. Once you build up your courage to do so, and you're hoping for a productive healing conversation, they completely deny that you had any wrong done to you by them. And now you feel like you've been pushed back 50 steps and you're feeling hurt all over, and it's 10 times as deep. Turn that thing around.
This is a rough one. Okay. And this is usually an issue. If you start to work on stuff from that happened in your past or childhood, you realize most people get to a point where they feel like they need to confront the person or confront the people in the situation, whatever. So sometimes you do have the issues where people don't admit to it. And it makes you feel like you're crazy. Like I could, I have all these issues, but now they're not, maybe something, and it puts you in this whole, listen, the good thing is that you've come to a place and a point to where you can even talk about it and you are able to stand up for yourself. That's number one. Because when you start standing up for yourself against the people that, have like put in this structure of issues in your life, when you are able to confront those folks, everybody after is going to be much easier. Nobody's going to be able to, hurt you in that way again or whatever.
Come on.
So that's the one positive. The next positive is now, you understand that people can sometimes dilute themselves. Okay. And so you're able to realize it, and it's almost like you can stand on your own 2 feet a little better, because you don't need any type of connection, or I'm saying any type of reassurance from anybody else. You start to realize, this is something that I'm dealing with. It is real. And just because people don't admit to it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's not real. And I'm able to deal with it, and I can move forward. So that's the positive from that thing right there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. One reason that now I want to go back and get Lashy had something to say about if that job doesn't see the value you bring to the workplace, it's just time for you to move on, because if they don't see it now, they never will. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to reach back and get that because I want you to know your response in the chat is important to us. One reason on this particular question said, now where you stand and they aren't at your level. Love them from a distance. Come on with that word. You better preach, Bishop.
Amen.
Love them from a distance. You the best said, I always try to understand that hurt people. And the older hurt people get, the harder it is to heal. I just keep working to not take other people's ish personal. Come on with that. I love it.
Amen.
First lady said, I got it off me and it was heard by the parent. I'm good and I lived it. Come on.
Yes. Get it off you.
Especially with your elders. Honor your experience, whether they admit the role or not. SK 8843. Tall Pumps wanted to hear the question one more time, and so I'm going to read it.
Okay.
And it says, you have had a rough past with your parents and they did some mistreatment when you were a child. You're going to therapy, getting yourself together, and now you feel like you need to confront them. And I think confronting parents is pretty heavy duty. Once you build up courage to do so, and you're hoping for a productive healing conversation, they completely deny that you had any wrong done to you by them. And now you feel like you've been pushed back 50 steps and you're feeling hurt all over and 10 times as deep. That was the question, Tall Pumps. A lot of twists and turns and a lot of pieces to it, but that was the question as it was posed. So now they're not receiving, they're not receiving what you've shared, and the hurt and the devastation is even greater. Turn that thing around. She's First Lady said, watch the distance though. Life is short. Don't live in regret. I'm just saying. So I hear what you're saying. Sometimes you can push somebody so far away, and then when they're gone, there's all kind of regret that goes on with that. And I hear that. I hear what you're saying, and I got you. We picking up that wisdom coming from all directions. Thank you so much for that input. Thank you so much for that input. Next one, you're getting older. Your body isn't as firm or as young as it used to be. You see a dress that you love, but you know you won't look quite as good in it as the mannequin. You decide to get the dress anyway because it's 2021.
Period.
Period. This is 2021. You can come out looking any kind of way. Yeah, somebody sent. You know what? My girl, she didn't get the memo. Who's the one that got on y'all for the bonnets and the? Anyway,
Monique did that.
Monique didn't get she didn't get the memo. You love the dress and you want to wear it. You tell yourself getting ready in the mirror for your date tonight, I look good and I feel good. You better ask somebody, and you do. So you head to the restaurant, and once you walk in, you feel all eyes are on you, and suddenly anxiety and shame floods you, and you don't feel cute anymore. Turn that thing around.
Oh Lord. I think that the positive in this is that you had the courage. You had the courage, okay, to be able to wear exactly what you wanted to wear. Not because somebody else might think it's cute. You thought it was cute, okay? And so you had the courage to go out in exactly what you wanted to wear. Okay, that's number one. That's a positive. That's a good thing because a lot of people struggle with self-esteem. Okay, now the next thing is that if you have the courage to show yourself in a way that you want to show yourself, and then you can get over other people's feelings of you, you in a good place in life. I'm telling you, because this ain't just about clothes. Okay, this could be about anything. You come out with something. This could be about the way you express yourself in a relationship. This could be about, work, any aspect of your life. Okay, if you can get to a point where it's not about what people say, it's not about what people think, it's only about your own happiness.
Come on.
That's a good life to live. I'm telling you, it's less stress. I think let me see. One reason said, what are we wearing? I'm wearing a crop top. I'm wearing a crop top with some Daisy Dukes without, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm wearing. And I'm out here and I don't care about who looking. Okay.
Come on.
I'm going to live my life the way that I want to live it. Okay. If you don't like it, let me tell you something. You don't like the way I look, turn the other way. That's all you gotta do. Turn the other way. That's it. And you good and I'm good. Okay. But I'm gonna live how I'm gonna live. It's simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Teach.
Yes.
Listen, I told y'all, if y'all ain't ready, this is, the millennials, they get this podcast, this stream is open for them to say whatever and however they feel it. It is no wrong in it. Talk your talk, Lena. Talk your talk. You taking some deep breaths. You the best. This is her response. She's going to take some deep breaths. She's going to lift her chin. She's going to chant some silent affirmations to herself and keep on high stepping and roar.
Come on, Lions Den. Roar. I love it.
I love it. SK8843 say, aunties like me are going to wear that dress and let the mature roles roll. Watch me.
That's funny. That's exactly what you need to do.
Come on. Now, she is first lady getting ready to gird up your loins. Gird up your loins, saints. Gird up your loins. She said she was taught to use a strong foundation. I'm working on a building. It's a sure foundation. Mother said she got a strong foundation and she's in the girdle ministry.
And listen, that girdle ministry, let me tell you something. That's some OG type stuff. Let me tell you something. That girdle is going to hold you in, and it's going to hold you in all night.
Listen.
You tell what I'm saying? Listen, you can wear a girdle, but have a little thigh out. Get the split all the way to the beginning of the thigh. The girdle stop right there and get the split to start right there.
Come on.
And there you go. Keep the girdle. Let the legs out.
See, come on. Lashy said, walk like a supermodel and focus on getting your table.
You hear me? That's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do, Lashy.
You pay your money just like everybody else.
Come on.
You're gonna have a good time.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't always agree with getting. Okay, so she's on the last question. She doesn't always agree with getting closure from the past. And Rebel, I want to say thank you for putting the questions in the chat so people can actually see it and read it. So that last question, she's not always about getting closure with people from the past, folk involved in trauma, family, friends, etc. The fact that you, come on with that. Yes, you better come on here. Addressed your trauma in therapy and heal. it's not your fault. Okay, come on. If not your fault, sometimes has to be the closure that you need. And that is a true statement. You aren't always going to get an apology or acknowledgement from them. Also, oftentimes parents that hurt their kids were hurt by their parents. That part right there. That's real stuff. Okay.
That is real.
That is real. So here we go. Last she said, then again, I don't date by choice. She doesn't date. And then she puts in there by choice. Happily single. Listen, I'm another happy single. For everybody that just feels like they don't have a life unless they got somebody in there. I'm single and happy. And that's not just something that I'm saying to convince myself. I am truly happy and I'm single and I don't have no problems with it. So I feel you, sis. One reason said I missed the question in the quote. Okay, I'll come back to that and read that in just a second. I'm go down, honey. They're agreeing. Oh, I see a hallelujah. She's first lady said hallelujah. I think that's on the foundation. She said it's a show. She's holding up the bloodstained banner for the Lord and those two twins that we call tots. She's holding it all up. She's holding it in and she's making sure, she's very sure that her anchor holds and grips the solid breast and the hips and the fingertips.
Come on, keep it on in. Keep it tight and right.
She got foundation. Just throw on that foundation and you'll be all fine. They talking to you, First Lady. They talking to you. So at the end of the day, I want to go back. In the church, we called it generational curse, keeping secrets and such. But this new generation, we gonna be heard. Come on with that, tall pumps. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And you know, back then, you know, they didn't have the tools. They didn't have the the community. They didn't have the help. We do now. We have the tools. We have the help. And it doesn't have to be, you know, a death sentence. Doesn't have to be a secret anymore. You can get rid of that and you can grow from it and be a victor, as Aunt Jean said.
There you go. We talking about victors. Now I got tickled. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Shelly Thunder is still on this foundation. She said she's talking about when coconuts were standing at attention and the hips were under subjection. So
well, listen. Attention, coconuts. Listen,
I'm trying to tell you, I know the church from whence she's first lady has come. Our church mother, listen, them babies stood at attention and they were pointed like the National Guard. I mean, baby, cones.
Now, mother, now you 72. We know that them things don't sit up like that now.
Maybe they sitting up at attention. They heard pay attention. And they paid all the attention, baby, because they was sitting up. Now, you know, listen, we all know that at 70-something years old, your stuff ain't perky and sitting up like that. But I'm telling you, she put your eyes out. I'm trying to tell you, you make sure when you got on the altar to pray and when you got ready to tarry, you make sure that the church mother wasn't coming at you because, baby, them twin banks would take you out. The
church mother, now the Bible said, come as you are. And she's coming as 20 and 50 years ago. Listen here. I'm 30 and mine don't stand at attention.
Now I'm getting ready to show my age because then she'd have them. Y'all don't know nothing about those stockings that were made out of. I don't know what them jokers were made out of, cotton or something. And then they'd have the knot tied down in the But poke your eyes right out, Shelly Thunder. That's what I'm talking about. Poke your eyeballs right out your head.
Wow.
Wait a minute. She's first lady said, let me, no, baby. She said, let me correct you now. Let me correct you, Lena Will.
Okay.
She ain't no 70. She's only 50. She said, the nation has come a long way, honey, with age. Sugar, honey, that she's a real first lady because she done called you sugar.
Yes, Mom. I
called you sugar. And she's only
general.
50.
It was general. I wasn't saying y'all said generally. We love you. Listen, everybody's gonna do what they're gonna do. I'm probably gonna be that 70-year-old with the thing that holds it all up. They're gonna be up to here.
Baby,
messing with me.
On guard. She said, listen, I'd rather be at attention instead of walking on them babies.
Listen, because it gets serious out here.
Y'all killing me. Y'all killing.
Yes,
Mama
sir.
said put the girdle in 12. SK, you know, I was 12 years old and I probably wasn't 75 pounds wet. And my mama said, you 12, you need a girdle. It was a one reason said, Lord.
Help them, Lord, help them.
Division said some good support rat and spank work wonders. And they do have spanks now. Somebody had to go help me get some spanks, but they will spank your tushy and get you right on in shape. Your belly and all of that jelly, it'll get all of it.
They got the ones now that they hold the gut in and let the booty out, because you know your big booty is in style now. So it'll hold they got one you put, it's a full body and it holds everything in from the head, not from like here to the toes.
Girl, they buying big booty. What you talking about? They are buying big booty and putting it in. Honey, that's one of my favorite. I'm gonna get you, sucker. My favorite scene is when they go to the bedroom for 12 inches and she's like, oh, well, you know, I didn't tell the truth. And baby, when she popped them hips out and popped that leg off, don't make me hop after you, girl. I was done. That's my all-time favorite.
All I'm saying is mama had to do what mama had to do to get him in. Okay, she felt like that's what she had to do. She put them eyes in, she put them eyelashes on, she put that lipstick on, she put that hair in, she put that leg on, she put them hips in, she got the man. She mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. Now if they come out with a way to not have to take that stuff off to do, you know, get down in there, then I think women gonna buy it, because that's just what it is. Listen, and not just women now.
Do what you gotta do.
Do what you gotta do.
Don't make me hop after you. Don't make me hop after you.
All that work she did. And then she asked him, am I okay to get comfortable? And what'd he say? Go ahead, baby. I ain't seen it in a while. And she got comfortable and he ran away. You see what I'm saying? Vulnerable. She was trying to be vulnerable. Let's go on and bring it back.
Listen. He should have been vulnerable when she said 12 inches and told the truth. It's more like 3. Anyway, at the end of the day,
that's another thing.
Listen, lying ain't gonna help, because at some point you gonna have
to see the truth.
You're gonna have to produce the facts. Now we're talking and we're laughing, but there's a whole lot of truth coming out in this, honey. This is shame to do. To tell the truth, shame the devil. We putting some good stuff out here right now. If you're not going to be vulnerable and if you're going to lie, eventually the day of reckoning is going to come and you're going to see that leg is not for real, and you're going to be talking about, don't make me hop after you.
Exactly.
Shelly said, put them hips right under subjection. Be careful, though. Don't go wearing it on a date and expect that booty to still be there.
When you take it off.
It ain't gonna be there. Y'all know these girls don't know what a slip stocking or nothing else is. They lucky if these youngin' put on a Spanx. Shoot.
What was the point of a slip? I look at slips all the time. And I'm like, what was the point of that? It was just an extra skirt.
Hot.
To keep y'all hot. I'm like, no wonder the baby boomers was, because y'all just was taking clothes off because y'all was so hot.
Listen, they was enjoying taking them clothes off, honey. Listen. Now, this is the truth, and I'm going to say this, and people ain't going to like what I'm saying. When you cover all that stuff up like that, it just makes people more determined to get it off.
Get the ripping and tearing.
How many minutes did it take you to get a baby? It only took me a good 10 minutes. Oh, girl, I got it in 7. What you talking about? Getting all them clothes off of there, baby. It was the hunt and the game. Y'all know that hunters are always trying to figure out the name of the game. There you are. Anyway.
How can I get this off? They ain't even thinking. It's just going in. I'm like,
It was the wrong apparatus thinking, the wrong head. Now, as we get on, because I'm still yet saved. I'm saying, your mouth just dropped.
I'm still yet saved. Praise the Lord.
Let me come on down, leader. Let me come on down. I think we done shocked the saints. We done shocked.
The folks know. The folks know what's going on around here.
Listen, they know what's going on. They know what's up. They know what's up. Don't play. They know what's up. You the best done came out, baby. Come on, y'all. Listen, we just try to tell you like a TIZ tears. That's how we do in the Lions Den. Yes. Only wear a slip if it's sheer. Don't nobody want to see your thunder thighs.
What? People gonna see these thunder thighs. You gonna see all of it. You gonna see all of it. It's gonna all be out there.
Y'all killing me. Now, I do think that's the difference when we talk about really the vulnerability even in our appearance and our attire, which we would say being to dress demure, to be modest or whatever. I think there's a different perspective even in that regard as to the freedom and the liberty that millennials have come into. Would you agree with that?
I think it is too, because I think that modesty, some women feel really strong and powerful and feminine with modesty, and it makes them feel good about themselves. Other women like to be a little bit more out there, open, showing their body, and that makes them feel strong. That makes them feel feminine. So I just think it's a matter of letting people be who they are, and it's okay. I'm more so out there. I like to show a little skin. But it makes me feel, feminine. It makes me feel sexy sometimes. I want to be a little bit open. Now, my sister is the polar opposite, honey. She's gonna cover it up. She's gonna leave it, and that makes her feel good. And so everybody is different, and so I think you should do what makes you feel happy. And yeah, that's what I think.
So is this we start to rob people of the ability to be vulnerable when we set those expectations, and then those expectations become a separating or dividing factor between how we look at a person?
Yeah, I think it depends. Yeah, you have to figure out, because we have these ideas of what is correct, or what is, what a respectful woman does, what a wife does versus what a thought does, or whatever like that. So I think it's important for us to understand that, what you wear, what you put on has nothing to do with your spirit, with your character. And if you see somebody with a whole bunch of something short on, you showing everything, doesn't mean that they're out there like they're having sex with anything. So it's just important to not be closed-minded, and also just getting to know somebody before you make judgments.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Now,
and it is changed. It has changed because back in the day you had to dress a certain way to get certain things or do certain things, but now it's a little different. Everybody can be a little more open, but I think the stigmas are still there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First Lady, I hear you. First Lady's standing her ground, and we respect everybody's opinion. You can't go to the office with your belly and your butt hanging out. Now, right is right.
Well, it's just a booty. It's just a belly. Everybody got one. I don't understand why everybody's so mesmerized. Everybody has one. Like it should get to a point where you're attracted to what you're attracted to. But what does what I'm wearing have to do with what I'm about to do or work? You should be able to work anything. Just like now, everybody's working from home. Nobody's wearing. Everybody is only wearing a shirt and only got like underwear on and sitting in a chair. Has it affected your job? Has it affected the way you do your job? No. Clothes are not important, but we can continue to do that, but it doesn't make a difference of how well you're going to work or things like that.
And I do think, by and large, this is definitely a dividing line between millennials and those that come before and those that come after. So at the end of the day, it's just a totally different day. It's a different time. We had a dress code that we were expected to wear. Different occupations had different dress codes. I know that I defy a lot of dress codes. I do respect people. I do respect people as much as I possibly can. But even from the church arena, I would be considered disrespectful in how I wear my clothes and what clothes I wear. And I'm supposed to be, quote unquote, a preacher. And I dress what I consider to be very conservative and very modest. But some people are still offended by it. So, at the end of the day, there are some, depending on where you've come from, mindset, and training that have different ideas and different concepts. I hear you, Lawanda. There's a time and a place for everything. I hear you. It has nothing to do with being home working. I got you, First Lady. And Tall Pump said, are we talking about clothing for church or casual clothing? But we all know that if you are wearing revealing clothing in whatever environment you're going to get certain types of attention. I got you there.
This is true. This is true.
So, but it just, I'd say even this, when you talk about revealing clothing, I am a person, even though people don't know this about me, I am a person that likes to show skin. So that's unusual. Now, you've never seen me in that because I was raised where you're going to have a collar almost up to your neck and sleeves down to your wrist. And this is, I'm not exaggerating. We literally had to have 3 inches below the knee in whatever your dress or skirt was below. It had to be below your knee. And I can remember where they had shoes, the toes and the heels had to be in the shoe, because if you had the heel out of the back or you had the toe out of the front, that was considered to be a Jezebel. And so, I've seen it from both extremes, and I've lived it from both extremes. Literally, we could not wear pants. We could not. It was very, very strict. And so at the end of the day, you've very seldom seen me when I go with my friends, and I'm not risque and I'm not inappropriate. But if you see me with my close, intimate friends and I'm going out, you're going to see me showing skin. I like my shoulders out. I like the way my shoulders look. I don't have a problem with my back being out. I don't have a problem. And at the end of the day, it's all very tastefully done. And but at the same time, I would not go certain places, not because I feel like it's necessarily inappropriate to go certain places dressed like that. I just know some folk going to have a cow and they'll never be able to hear me preach another sermon because they saw me with the off the shoulder shirt on. And so I don't take that around where they are. So, but it doesn't take away from my spirituality and the ability to be who I am. I think that unfortunately, I can't be vulnerable in certain arenas because people won't receive it. They won't receive me based on what my whatever it is that they perceive to be tastefully. I see you, First Lady. I think more times than not, in my opinion, I'm always tastefully dressed, but I know some old ladies that just have a lizard and a cow when they see some of the stuff that I wear, and it's not inappropriate. But I don't trip on them because I'm like, listen, you're not going to have me come out looking like Mom's Mabley because nobody wants to look like you, ma'am. Nobody wants to look like
Mom's Mabley. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that, because I think that women, it's more so an issue for women because I think that we have more things to kind of worry about when it comes to what we wear. Do you think it's because the woman's body has been so sexualized? Do you think that's why it's such an issue why is it such a big deal to look a certain way or tastefully or appropriate? What do you think? Where do you think that comes from? Or is it because we're sexualized, or what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that some of it is patriarchy, in my opinion. The difference in roles between male and female. The same reason why you can watch a movie and they'll show a whole entire nude woman's body, her breasts, her stomach, her buttocks, everything. They'll show her whole body. And then when you get to the man, you can't see his little peen. And sometimes it ain't nothing but a little peen. You can't see that. They can figure out some kind of way to cover it up. Then the flip side of that is that you can go someplace and a woman can be nicely dressed and I can see his nuts through the pants. And there's nothing said, there's nothing done, there's no issue with that. I see your balls, sir. I see all your hairy balls hanging out here. And at the end of the day, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. It's the difference between the freedom and the liberty that sometimes you'll see given to men, but that same consideration is not given to women. Women are floozies because you had several partners. Men are just dapper, debonair, and they going from place to place, woman to woman, and it's all okay. So, baby, pubic hairs and stuff. We see all of that, and you won't hear, We see butt crack from men on a regular. Nobody says anything. I see your whole crack. I see all of your hairy butt crack. And we won't say anything. And then if we see anything that gives even the slightest inkling of some lines and images with the females, people just go crazy like women are, oh, you just nasty. You just the floozy. Well, look, I see your nuts, your crack, and everything else.
Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting, but I think that you know, it's like you have to figure out where you are. What do you feel about everything? I think people should just be who they want to be, and if you're not like accosting people, it's okay. You know, wear what you want to wear.
Yeah, I've seen preachers in the pulpit. I see they junk. They got on a nice suit, but I see all day junk. So I still say to me, yes, the junk. So I in the pulpit with your nice shoes on and your nice suit and everything else, but I see all your junk and y'all gallivanting across that stage and don't nobody say nothing. That's where I say to me, that's some patriarchal type of stuff. That's patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to put a woman in a certain microscope and talk about her like a dog. And these brothers are doing that and then some, and ain't nobody saying nothing. I see there's no imagination to be had here. I see it all. And if you ain't careful, I might smell it all.
Oh Lord.
I'm just saying.
I can't do it today. You gonna smell it all in jeans. It's all like that.
Shelly used it cutting off the circulation. Listen, come on, one reason. So that's what I'm saying. We go all in on the ladies, but y'all don't say, we don't hear any of this same kind of conversation about the men. And some of these men are more inappropriate than the women are. I saw this man's everything. He was up bucking and shouting, and I saw it all. His pants slipped down, and I saw bare cheeks, butt, and balls. Now, take that. And I was at church and I seen it. Lena, I ain't lying. I was bucked up in the air and his pants came down with his no belt wearing self. And I saw his family jewels, his family wannabe jewels. I saw dirty butt, crack, balls, nuggets, everything in the church.
Now my question is, if he was shouting at me, he caught the Holy Ghost. Did he lose the Holy Ghost?
He caught something, and he probably caught something right after that service was over in the bathroom, in the weeds, behind the bush, behind the building. He probably caught a whole lot of something besides the Holy Ghost.
Help us, Lord. Help him. Help us, Jesus. Listen here.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We got to help the folk.
But we won't say anything about that. But we will really, really, really get on our young women and run them into the dirt. And I think we really need to review that. We need to review that.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I mean, I personally think that if the woman's body wasn't so sexualized, it wouldn't be such of an issue. I think people wouldn't have such an issue with women wearing what we consider risque clothes or anything like that. It's your own body. If you don't want to cover it up, I don't think you should have to. And I don't think that that's a reason for, people to, if you're attracted to something, you're going to notice. I mean, if I notice a guy that I'm attracted to, I'm going to notice, but I'm not going to like accost this man, or I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to do anything inappropriate. But if you notice something you like, it's fine. Yeah. But let them people wear what they want to wear. And that's not a reason for you to do anything that you're not supposed to do to somebody. It's not a reason, let them wear what they want to wear.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, because it's something that has to be something personally felt, and everybody needs to be persuaded in their own minds. But I just wanted to bring up that point, and I'm not trying to belabor it. I'm just trying to bring up the point, because I just can't let my sisters get land blasted like that when I'm looking at brothers out here and I see nuts and berries. I just can't do it. Them little two little suits that they out there wearing, I see nuts and berries.
Well, it's a lot of women folk in the church. Some of that stuff is they do it on purpose.
Oh, well, I agree. But if they do it on purpose, don't talk about the female when she's doing it on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Oh Lord, I done cracked up
I see
hard
the
today,
berries, you
Eugene.
the best. I see the berries. All you missing are the nuts, but the nuts and berries, that's what I see. Okay, I'm gonna
Not
let
the
you go,
nothing
Lena,
there.
because I done digressed on it. But I'm just saying, when we start talking about why we begin to come into areas of where it's not comfortable to be vulnerable, I think that, and again, if we're going to talk about teaching and training and understanding, I see you one reason we have to teach those boys to respect girls and that they don't owe you anything. Come on here. It's a two-sided thing. And so to answer your question, as far as why, I feel like patriarchy comes into play because men have had a free reign to do whatever they want to do, the male gender, while the women have walked under a different guideline.
Mm-hmm. It's important.
I know, Pastor Blissett, you don't want to see nuts and berries, but I know there's some other men out there want to see nuts and berries, and women too.
I mean, if they showing nuts and berries at the church,
At the church.
I might come for one service or two, just to, get it, see what I just want to be. I want to have my own opinion, and then once I see it, then I'll stop going. But I might go once or twice.
Well, listen, because the pastors got on them two little suits. Now, one reason we need to stop sexualizing everybody's body, but particularly the women's bodies who are just being completely overly sexualized. And like I said, have you ever wondered why on a movie you can see a whole butt naked woman from head to toe without one little blur, without one little bleep, and then when you come to the men, there's going to always be something
that little booty, that's it.
There's always going to be something blurring it out because it's almost like the women's body. It don't matter. Just put it out here on broad open display. But men, oh my God, no, we're not going to expose you like that. But you're exposing women and treating them like they ain't nothing. We need to deal with that.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And I just, how do we get that double standard gone? Do we cover the woman's body up from here on? Or do we uncover the man's body and just let it all out there?
Well, it remains to be seen. I think the generations that are coming after are basically saying, take it off, take it off, take it off. And at the end of the day,
that's my type of people. What church is this? Oh, okay, go ahead. What church is this? Because I might need to go. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, these are all real issues that need to be addressed, but they need to be talked about. They need to be hashed out because there's a double standard that we put in here that we in 2021. It's a new day. It's a new thought, and these young ladies and these young men have a totally different mindset.
Yeah. I think Tall Pump said, and one reason, and the girls have to understand that they don't have to emulate the twerkers and jerkers to get attention from the young man's attention. But that's a whole conversation because what they mama's doing or not.
Come on.
Now this, and I would like to let everybody know that I am a twerker. Mm-hmm. I have the twerking spirit on me so heavy. I was blessed with that twerking spirit. And I twerk. My mama always said, you got a problem. Really, I'm thinking about going through a 12-step program for twerking because I twerk. I wake up, get out the bed, I stretch like, thank you, Jesus, for another day. And I'm a twerk my way to the bathroom. So, I'm in the house by myself and I'm twerking. So it's not necessarily for somebody else. Matter of fact, I rarely twerk outside the house. I usually be twerking here, but I mean level 10 twerking. So I think that, we have to think about why we do stuff and if it's for somebody else or if it's for yourself or, you have to think about that. And you don't want to give off that attention to guys if that's not what you're looking for. Now, some women are looking for, just a good time, and that might be how you attract the man. So I don't think anything's wrong with that. But if that's not what you're looking for, if you're looking for like a committed relationship or a husband and stuff like that, then you kind of have to change up the game a little bit. You just twerk a little bit for him, just like one or two times.
Shelly Thunder said, "Drop it low for Jesus."
Let me tell you something. This is 2021. Okay, praise dance has a lot of different facets now.
That is a song, Lena, for real. That is a song. Drop it
It's
low.
a song.
Yes.
Wow. I listen. Y'all
Okay.
have.
I'm just playing with you. I'm playing. I mean, I'm really serious, but I'm just kidding with you now. I done hijacked your show. I'm sorry.
Listen, it is what it is. That's what I'll say. If you want to twerk, twerk, but understand that some things will bring you some type of attention, but you have to be able to say, I'm good. I'm
Yes.
cool. I'm all right.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Sometimes, guys, sometimes they don't. If you say no the first time, no, I'm okay, and they're still going forward, you say no in a higher voice and raise your eyebrows.
Come on.
And it'll help. They'll be like, oh, she for real. Yeah, it's a wild world out here. We'll be like, no, I'm
It
okay.
is. It
And they'll be
is.
like, no,
Yeah.
it works.
And even from the millennial side, I want to address and understand a lot of us, myself included, with my hoary head, and you hear me say that a lot because I'm almost pretty near gray all over now. I can't get
Love
over
it.
it. It's like
Love it.
it's like it happened overnight. However, I'm gonna love myself, but it's an adjustment. But
Just
nonetheless, I recognize that gray head, that whole entire gray head puts me in a slightly different category in my mindset, in my thinking. And that's why I wanted this space for millennials to talk and talk freely and talk honestly without having to put on the airs and the games. Because at the end of the day, I want y'all to I want you all to be yourselves. I'm looking at folks that a lot of my age and a little bit younger than me, they're not happy. They're going through motions. They're doing things. Their lives are not fulfilled. They're just coming into some of the knowledge that you all, and this is what I want to say, some of you young folks have really taken on a totally different approach and vantage point. Some of this stuff that you were sharing today, I love it. I love the idea that you're understanding how to center yourself, how to get into the present, how to not automatically start reacting, but step back and take some moments and think about it. Child, if when I was your age, baby, ready or not, here I come. I'm getting ready to blow up. It's about to be a whole volcano up in here. So, but to see you actually and be detached the whole time, be disconnected the whole time, be split the whole time, be that what's the word, chameleon the whole time, anybody but Regina, the whole time, and have a whole entire experience, and to see you at your young tender age and as a millennial already making more progress than some of us have made in 50, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I'm at the end of the day, this is the way I really want you to feel.
Oh, thank you.
Good job. So
Thank you.
keep it going. Keep it going. I hear what you're saying. And do you, and I know a lot of people, we weren't raised with that mindset. We weren't raised in that arena, but do you.
And we grow, and I think that each generation gets better and better. And I think eventually hopefully we can get to a generation where they don't have to come out of some type of issue. They can just already be at a certain level and just, shoot to the stars.
Yes.
So I'm excited about the progression. I'm excited about the growth. I'm excited about everybody that joined us today and gave their answers, and y'all laughed with us, and y'all rebooted with us, and we turned a lot of things around today.
Then we turn it around.
We turned that thing around. So I want to say thank you, and Jean, thank you for being a pillar in my life and showing me things that I didn't quite know and being there for me along with a lot of other people. God's truly blessed me. So I'm excited about the future.
Come on. And you're blessed me as well. Thank you, baby.
Yes, I'm excited about our viewers' future. We want y'all to continue to come here with us and talk with us, have a good time with us. We will be back next Friday at 2 p.m. So I want to
Yes.
see every single one of you beautiful souls. And we're going to have something even more good, even better and funny. And we're going to have something else to talk about next Friday. So want y'all to come join us. We also have an option to where you guys can give us suggestions, what you want to talk about, or if you want to give us reBOOT options, things that we can, when we turn that thing around, you can put yours in there, then we can talk about that next Friday. So if you watch this page, we're going to put the information on here. So just look out for us, and we're going to continue to grow with y'all.
Lashy, thank you for coming in before you leave, sweetheart. Thank you so much for coming in, and we
Thank
enjoyed
you.
having you here. And I'm glad we made you laugh before your show. You go out there and knock them dead and break a leg and do your thing, honey, because
Yeah.
there is greatness in you, and you are awesome. Walk out of here knowing you are awesome and you can do
Yes.
anything. Thank
Yes,
you.
and oh, I'm sorry, but right after, so the twerk class is right after learning how to speak in tongues. So learn how to speak in tongues at 7 p.m. Wednesday, and then right after is a twerk class. So y'all come on out for that, and we're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna teach y'all, because some of y'all just mad at the twerkers because y'all don't quite know how to twerk. So I'm gonna show y'all. Y'all can join the train. That's what it is. Come on, and we're gonna have a good time.
Okay, celebrate. Don't be mad because you can't do it. Don't be mad because you can't do it. And the mother gonna teach you how to do it. She's gonna teach you how to do it and how to do it right. We missed
Exactly.
you, Welly. She'll be back hopefully on next week, but she's traveling back home with the babies, and we have appreciated. We do miss her. We miss her. We miss her. I love you, Lena. You are the best thing since sliced bread, baby. I love you so much. And to all of our listeners and all of our viewers, one reason, thank you for reminding us. We had turned that thing around ready. We just got to talking and forgot. So thank you. This is how you can come in as a viewer and really enhance what we're doing and giving us ideas and reminding us of things that we got out here prepared for you, but we just forgot. But thank you. You the best. I think this is your first time coming in here, but baby, you the best. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And to every last one of you, I could call you one by one and name by name. I want you to know that we are so glad that you dropped in. Lena, anything else you want to say? I love you, dear. I love you dearly.
No, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all Friday. Come on out again, and we're gonna have a good time next Friday too. Y'all have a beautiful, blessed weekend, and make sure you try your best to continue to try to be vulnerable, but protect yourself also. And we're gonna continue to grow.
Yes. Now, those of you that are in Twitch, stay with us and we're going to raid somewhere. Our moderator is going to take us somewhere. I don't know where she's going to take us, but I know it's going to be good. So hang on for the raid. Ride over there with us. We appreciate you. Next Friday at 2:00, we will be back. We love you so much and God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Growth, longevity, understanding, and integrity. Me and you, we on the road. Graduate, self-discovery. Got a lot to learn in this life, and I'm excited. Gonna do it with my people like mine. Yeah. What you gonna reboot when you need reboot? What you gonna reboot? Reboot, a reboot.